Hokage start with a thunder fruit. Chapter 161-180. Chapter 161 Ineffective Dust Escape. Although he said so, the expression on the fourth generation Hokage is still embarrassing. He has seen the strength of the undead army, so the strength of the sprites can be imagined. The mere ninjas also want to oppose me. I really feel uncomfortable. Strength. Ninjas of the four major ninja villages just entered the temple when they were blasted out by a black energy column, and all the ninjas under the upper ninja died on the spot. He hurriedly got his ninja out of the temple. The fourth Hokage rushed up first, but was swept away by a huge black tentacle and landed on the ground, with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Onogi and others looking at the four generations of Hokage who were defeated by one move, the expressions are very solemn. The strength of the four generations of Hokage can be ranked among the shadow-level powerhouses, but they are still defeated by one move. No, how terrifying the sprite's strength is. The next moment, a huge figure with a height of several hundred meters appeared in front of them, covered in black mist, looking extremely terrifying. Sprite smiled strangely, said, "Just because you want to oppose me, you just don't know what to do, give me all to die." Another huge black tentacle stretched out from the sprite's body, and drew it towards Onogi 157 and others. The whistling wind made Onogi and the others' pupils shrink for a while, and they could feel the tentacle above it. The terrifying power contained in it. Water escape water dragon ball technique. Terumi Mei made a seal with her hands, and a ferocious water dragon that was dozens of meters in height immediately rose up and met the black tentacles. PFF'd. What changed Terumi Mei's expression was that the water dragon that looked incomparably huge in front of the black tentacles, they couldn't resist for even a second before they were shot away. The water splashed down the sky, and with this gap, Onogi and others directly avoided the tentacle's attack. The next moment, the tentacle slapped directly on the ground, and a terrifying pothole with a diameter of tens of meters appeared directly on the ground, with a depth of more than 10 meters, which shows the power of this blow. Terumi Mei looked at the sprite with an extremely solemn expression, and opened her mouth. Said, "I didn't expect that my water dragon can't even resist. What a powerful force this is." Long time, Terumi Mei was very confident in his own strength, and even once thought that his strength was no less than that of Konoha's Chinsho Tsunade. But at this moment, he finally understood. Even if he was stronger than Chinsho Tsunade, how could she still be so powerless in front of the sprite? Just like a child facing an adult, making her feel extremely desperate. Is this the power of a ninja? It seems that it is indeed a group of wastes, and they are simply vulnerable. Why does this kind of waste still exist in the world? It is a waste of precious survival. Terumi gnashed her teeth angrily, but she couldn't do anything. Her chakra was running out, she couldn't afford to waste it. Gaara looked at the mad and childless, and said, "We are not waste. No matter how strong you are, we will beat you." Sandstorm Burial. The endless yellow sand suddenly poured out from under the ground, setting off a huge horror hundreds of meters. Sand waves rolled down directly at the sprites. The yellow sand that suddenly appeared seemed to make the sprites unresponsive, and was directly buried by the yellow sand in the sky. Gaara looked serious, watching the yellow sand being buried. The sprite said, "The sand binds the coffin." A large amount of yellow sand immediately began to squeeze and shrink. Even a piece of iron and stone would be squashed under the force of this squeezing. Terumi Mei's eyes lit up and she said, "Did you succeed?" Looking at the momentum caused by Gaara's move, this idea appeared in Terumi Mei's mind for the first time. Regarding the power of this move, Terumi Mei has no doubts at all. Even if the tailed beast is hit directly, I can't ask for it. But at the next moment, a crack appeared on the surface of the yellow sand that had been compressed to the extreme, and it continued to expand. With a bang, the yellow sand in the sky exploded, and the sprite directly broke open the sandstorm buried. Bound. It's naive to try to solve me with this soft move. The sprite's tone was full of disdain. To be honest, the sprite is very disappointed now. Originally, after meeting Muyun, although he didn't care about it, he still had a heart in his heart, saying, "There may be strong people among the ninjas." But at this moment, the vigilance of the ninjas in the hearts of the ninjas has disappeared without a trace, whether it is the fourth generation of Hokage, or Terumi-Mei and Gaara, the strength shown is still too weak in its view. It is so weak that it does not even have the qualifications to take it seriously. Don't be ashamed, you have been sealed for so long, and you are not qualified to judge the strength of the ninja. The most powerful thing in a ninja is will, no matter what. Wherever you are, the will of the ninja will not be shaken. The technique of removing the boundaries of dust escape. Anamu looked grim, and a huge rectangular white beam of light extended directly from his hand and swept away at the sprite's chest. This move was a move that broke out all the chakras on Anamu's body. It is also all the hope of Onogi. The rectangular beam of light appeared in front of the sprite in an instant, and it was about to touch the Sphinx's body. Seeing this scene, Onogi's face suddenly showed a smile. As long as he was touched by his dust escape hits, whatever it is, will be decomposed into atomic form. No matter how powerful this sprite is, it is useless. But that's not all. Although the sprite was a little surprised, his tone was still full of disdain. Onogi blushed and stared at Sphinx. He wanted to see Spooky's expression when his body was separated into an atomic form. But soon, Oyemu's eyes widened, and his eyes were full of disbelief. I saw that in front of the white cuboid beam of light, a thick black mist gathered together, and the dust slammed on the black mist, and it was unexpectedly different from the black mist. The fog stagnated, and the expected destruction did not appear. His dust escape actually failed. This is the first time that Oyemu has encountered such a situation in decades. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 162 vs. Sprite. You must know that Chen Dun's prestige was played out, not blown out, but it has lost its due effect today, which made Onogi stunned. This move is very interesting, but unfortunately your strength is not enough, it's a bit unsustainable now. At the moment when the words fell, the dazzling white cuboid beam of light slowly dissipated, and Onogi's chakra was also exhausted. Damn, is it really over like this? Anamu was half knelt on the ground. After the chakra was exhausted, he felt very weak, and he couldn't even stand up. At the same time, Onogi's heart was also very unwilling. Hit Jongong, but how could he think that he was blocked so easily? Of course it's over, all of this, but the price is that you all have to die. The sprite made a low voice, which made the hearts of Dayemu and others suddenly chill. They wanted to resist, but they didn't have any strength. Hey, Muyun, can we really defeat this kind of guy? It doesn't work. Kakashi looked at the almost invincible sprite with despair in his eyes. Although he had seen Muyun's terrifying strength, at this moment, he couldn't help but doubt whether Muyun could really defeat the sprite. No, Kakashi, Cassie, it's not that the blood is useless to eliminate, but the strength of Onogi and sprite is not equal, that will make you have this illusion. To give the simplest example, even if a child has the best weapon, he can't defeat a ninja. This is a truth. The gap between Onogi and sprite is too great. As early as the moment when Anamu used the dust escape, Muyun's arrogance and domineering had already captured the specific situation. The dust escape was not completely ineffective, but was offsetting with the black mist around the sprite. But what happened to Anamu's chakra? The amount is not enough, and the strength is not comparable to the sprite. Therefore, the speed of Chen Dun to eliminate the black fog is very slow, so slow that it cannot be detected by the naked eye, and only Muyun's domineering can perceive it. Kakashi looked at Muyun suspiciously. Why didn't he see so many things? But Muyun saw Kakashi's eyes. Muyun didn't say anything, just made a seal with his hands. Mu Dunmu, the art of clone. The two wooden clones suddenly appeared beside Muyun, and then shot out quickly, kicked Onogi and the fourth Hokage back, and then grabbed Gaara and Terumi-Mei and quickly retreated back. And Muyun was a flash before him. A princess hugged her hand, and sent it to a safe place. Kakashi, take them out of here, the next battle is not something you can participate in. After handing the Tamari to Kakashi, Muyun turned to face the sprite and said, "Be careful." Kakashi nodded and took the remaining few people away. In the short collision just now, except for Konoha Ninja who lost almost zero, Shinobu Village suffered heavy losses. There were only a few dozen people on top. Shinobu followed the Konoha ninja and left here, and everyone was wearing color. Muyun didn't really think about the life and death of the others. If you want to save it, it's just to save Tamari and Terumi Mate plus Gaara. But in the plan after Muyun, Dayemu and others were still needed, so they rescued him. It's you. Sprite saw Muyun, he gritted his teeth and said. For Muyun, Sprite hates to the extreme, and at the same time is a little bit jealous. For so many years, Muyun is the only person other than the witch who can restrain its power. Therefore, Sprite naturally wants to completely get rid of Muyun Yun's. After all, although he has confidence in his own strength, he does not want a person who can restrain his strength to live. Maybe when Muyun grows up, he will be able to have the strength to threaten it. Muyun raised his eyebrows and said, "It's really me. In the next battle, let me play with you." From the sprite's tone, Muyun can be sure that his ability is absolutely capable of restraining Spook, otherwise the other party would not have such a big reaction. No matter who it is impossible to allow a sharp sword to hang in the air. The top of his head, and for sprites, he is this. Sharp sword, that's why Sphinx hates himself so much. Ninja, I want you to live rather than die. Two huge black tentacles stretched out directly from the sprite's body, and they volleyed and slammed fiercely towards Muyun. The air was directly blown up by the violent force, and there were bursts of loud noises, which were extremely harsh. Land's feet cut steel. Muyun jumped up immediately, his legs swirled in the air, and a huge vacuum slashing wave of hundreds of meters roared out. Ninja, it's useless, just relying on this kind of pediatric move, there is no way to resist me. Attack. The voice of the sprite is full of disdain. The reason why the undead army was defeated by Muyun before is because the sprite thinks that its power has not been fully recovered. It admits that the power of Muyun can indeed restrain it, but even restraint is necessary. Strength, and in its eyes, Muyun's strength is obviously not enough. Can you resist? You say it doesn't matter. A terrifying shock wave erupted the moment the huge vacuum slashing wave came into contact with the black tentacles. The powerful shock wave spread in all directions, instantly destroying everything within a radius of thousands of meters, and the ground seemed to be covered by several thousands of tons of explosives were bombed, and it became shattered. The chopper wave and the black tentacles stalemate for a moment, and then in the unbelievable gaze of the sprites, they directly cut off the black tentacles, and then rushed towards him with a whistling whistle. Although it was very shocking, the sprite's response was not slow, and a large cloud of black mist condensed in front of him in an instant. The slashing wave plunged directly into the black mist, and then violently erupted. When it opened, it was dispersed into countless tiny energy blades, which directly dispersed the black mist. But after the black mist was dispersed, the slashing wave immediately lost all of its power and collapsed and became invisible. After all, it was only rootless duckweed. Without the support of energy, it is not easy to do this. After experiencing this lesson, the contempt for Muyun disappeared without a trace, and he became cautious in his heart. Fei Lu reminds you, 3 things to read to collect, recommend. Chapter 163 Super, God's Punishment. Thor. Muyun looked at the gigantic size of the sprite, and instantly mobilized the energy in his body, directly condensing a giant thunder and lightning that was also hundreds of meters in size. This scene fell on Onogi and others who had already withdrawn from dozens of kilometers away. In his eyes, he suddenly became vigilant in his heart, and his fear of Muyun rose a few steps again. With this type of body, not to mention its combat effectiveness, the shock from the visual alone is incomparable. When they saw this thunder giant, they felt a deep sense of powerlessness in their hearts, not to mention ordinary ninjas. At the moment when the thunder giant appeared, a huge sense of crisis appeared in the hearts of sprites. There is a strong sense of danger from above. It really is the power that can restrain me. 157. I didn't expect it to be this far. The sprite's heart is very dignified, it feels a different breath from other ninjas from Muyun's body. It seems that your power does not come from yourself, but natural energy. After carefully feeling the power of thunder and lightning on Muyun's body, Ji-yun was horrified. With such a huge amount of natural energy, except for someone who could use it thousands of years ago, Gigi has never encountered it again. What's more, Muyun, it is still the lightning energy that restrains its power the most. In an instant, the alarm bells in the heart of the sprites suddenly rang out, and they dare not despise Muyun again. Hearing the words of Spears, Muyun was surprised, and said, "This is you too." It can be seen that it is indeed a ghost that everyone fears, and there are indeed two brushes. The sprite can recognize at a glance that what he is using is not chakra, but natural energy, and this alone is enough to make Muyun pay attention. What about natural energy thousands of years ago? It's not that I haven't killed it, I have to die, right? Paying attention to it, has no reservations. In an instant, more than a dozen black tentacles extend out, each tentacle is hundreds of meters long, and directly shroud the path towards Muyun. Not only that, each tentacle there is also a large amount of black fog surrounding it, and even the air is slightly twisted under this black fog. Thunder Dragon. Looking at the black tentacles attacking him, Muyun directly condensed a giant thunder and lightning dragon with a scale of several hundred meters, circled around him, and slammed into the black tentacles. The number is dominant, but in front of the thunder and lightning dragon, it was quickly defeated, and then directly devoured the past. A shield stood in front of him. Thunder Dragon slammed heavily on the black shield, terrifyingly causing everything within a radius of several kilometers to be shrouded by lightning. The ground directly sank for several meters, which is terrifying extremely. But with such a terrifying attack, there were ripples on the color shield, but it did not defeat the black shield. Muyun narrowed his eyes slightly, and the electric energy contained in the terrifying thunder and lightning dragon exploded directly, forming the terrifying explosion. The violent thunder and lightning directly bypassed the black shield, wrapping the body of the sprite, and the violent thunder and lightning lasted for a long time. And it is still absorbing the thunder and lightning energy in nature, and constantly launching attacks. This is the benefit of natural energy. Although the ninjutsu bursting with chakra is not weak, it will dissipate in the end, but natural energy can absorb infinitely. Endless energy to ensure the durability of the attack. Rumble. The next moment, I saw a huge black mist suddenly rise up, directly rushing away the violent thunder and lightning, and the sprite's body once again appeared in Muyun's body. In front of you. Sure enough, I knew it wasn't that easy to solve you. Muyun's face is very solemn. To be honest, Sprite is definitely the most powerful enemy he has encountered in so long. Whether it's one-tailed Shuhei or four-tailed Sun Wukong, they can't compare to Sprite. Under this kind of attack, he was unharmed, and he was even able to get rid of the thunder and lightning attack, which is enough to see the depth of the Sprite. Muyun even felt that if it was the tailed beast that hit him with this move, he would definitely not be able to break free. You must know that his strength is no longer the level he was when he fought with the four tails. Now he is a real super shadow level strength. You also take me a trick. There is no unnecessary nonsense. The huge black energy directly gathered in front of it, condensed into a black energy ball with a diameter of several hundred meters, and blasted towards Muyun. Feeling the terrifying power carried by the black energy ball, Muyun's face became more serious than ever before. Sanction of the Super God. The thunder beam with the same diameter of several hundred meters erupted from Thor's body, and greeted the black energy ball fiercely. Rumbling. This time, the two of them did their best, and the terrifying attack power spread directly. Come, directly destroy everything within a radius of hundreds of kilometers, and it is still extending around. The huge mushroom cloud slowly rose, the ground shook violently, and the ninjas who had withdrawn hundreds of kilometers it started to run wild again, and even use the power of milking. This is simply too terrifying. Are these two guys trying to completely destroy the kingdom of ghosts? After this battle, it is estimated that the map will have to be rewritten. Now. Terumi ran for the road and watched the movement behind her with a glance. This sight made her die. The attack that covered a radius of hundreds of kilometers, how terrifying it was. Fortunately, they obeyed Kakashi's words. Already hundreds of kilometers have been withdrawn, otherwise, just this attack 5. The aftermath of 7 hits can kill them. Terumi can clearly feel the terrifying threat that the aftermath of the attack brought him, and there is no possibility of resistance. These two guys are chakras infinite. Such a reckless fight. Onogi was also horrified and envious at the same time. If he could have such a terrifying chakra, it is estimated that Chendun would be able to use it infinitely. Even if Uchiha Madara is resurrected, he will not be his opponent. It is a pity that no one knows that Muyun is not using chakra, and the same is true for sprites. The energy used by sprites is very strange, a bit like natural energy, but if you perceive it carefully, you will find the difference. The underlined version of the novel. Chapter 164 Desperate People. What Muyun can feel is that the energy used by sprites is one level higher than that of chakra, but it seems to be one level lower than natural energy. Probably the reason why he restrained it is because of natural energy. If the level is higher than the sprite's energy level, it is estimated that Muyun really can't defeat Sprite. As the aftermath of the attack dissipated, Sprite's body suddenly appeared. The black mist shrouded up and down became very thin. Muyun manipulated Thor again, thinking that the Sprite rushed over and punched the spear. The violent thunder and lightning hit the Sprite directly through the shroud of the black fog. The body of the Sprite suddenly made the Sphinx retreat a lot. Muyun's eyes lit up and said, "It seems that you are not invincible, your strength is almost exhausted." This moment that Muyun was really sure that the power of the Sprite was different from his own. This moment completely confirmed his thoughts. "Damn ninja, I must smash you into pieces." With deep resentment in his voice, he rushed towards Muyun. It is not difficult to see that at this moment, Ji-yun was already a little powerless, and the sense of threat that Muyun felt from Ji-yun had become very weak. Looking at the body of the Sprite rushing towards, the Thunder Giant clenched his fist directly, secretly guarding the Sprite. But just when the Sprite's body was about to collide with the Thunder Giant, the Sprite's figure turned into a black mist and dissipated. Not good. Muyun's complexion suddenly changed, and the domineering expression spread with all his strength, and he immediately found that the Sprite's body appeared dozens of kilometers away, and it was still swept away rapidly. Qian, the sorceress outside. "I am careless, I didn't expect this guy to be so cunning." At this time, it was too late for Muyun to make a rescue. Although his speed was extremely fast, once he appeared in front of the Sprite, a battle would definitely break out. By then, Ziyuan, who had already narrowed the distance of dozens of kilometers, it will definitely be affected. So Muyun can only wait and see what happens, and wait for the opportunity to rescue Ziyuan. After arriving in front of Ziyuan, a black tentacle instantly stretched out from Shiyuan's body, directly binding Ziyuan. Held high in the air. "Ha ha ha, ninja, this is annoying. The Shrine Maiden has been watching you with a worried mood since just now. She must have something to do with you, right? If you don't want her to die, then disperse this Thunder Giant immediately, otherwise, I will kill her immediately." During the battle just now, Ji forgot to look around, and with his ability to capture emotions, he easily discovered what was wrong with Ziyuan. Because from the beginning of the battle, Ziyuan looked at Muyun very worriedly, except for the relationship other than good people, who would care so much about a person's safety. Qian, who thought he had seen the truth, directly put his mind on Qian, and he hated Qian very much, so he did not hesitate. "Now, don't listen to it, Muyun, must kill the Sprite, you are the last hope, once you lose, the whole world is over." Qian struggled violently, and at the same time used witchcraft to try to get rid of the Sprite's control. Her body exuded a green light, but to the despair of Qian, her sorcery had no effect at all. The gap between her and Sprite is really too big, so big that she can't resist at all. Moreover, Ziyuan has already felt that the strength of the Sprite after fully awakening is very terrifying. Even if she wants to seal it again, it is impossible, even if it is to sacrifice herself. Therefore, Muyun became with the only hope of defeating the Sphinx. Ziyuan certainly doesn't want Muyun to submit, and she also doesn't want to see Muyun die at the hands of Spook. But at the same time, Ziyuan is expecting Muyun to give up everything for her. This kind of complicated Shiyuan's thoughts made Ziyuan extremely entangled. "Shut up, Shiyuan. Don't think that I dare not kill you. over the years, every day that passes, my hatred for you witches has increased by 1%, and it is still today. My hatred for you is endless. If it wasn't for your worth of use, I would have killed you long ago." After roaring at Xian, Xian said again, "How do you think about whether to disperse the thunder giant or just watch this woman die in front of you?" Muyun was silent for a while, and then, the giant thunder and lightning that was hundreds of meters in size suddenly turned into a sky full of thunder and disappeared in place. At the same time as the thunder and lightning giant dispersed, Ziyuan shouted, "No, why is all this happening? It's a spooky conspiracy. Even if you compromise, it won't let you go, let alone me." After fighting with sprites for so many years, Xian knows this guy too well, and being unbelievable is almost its label. Keeping promises will never happen to sprites. And Kakashi and others saw Mu Yunsen. When I went to Thor, all of them were stunned, and all 157 in their hearts were sinking. Could it be that Muyun's chakra is exhausted? If that's the case, then it's bad. Even Muyun can't deal with sprites, let alone us. Who has a deep understanding of Muyun's strength, is very clear that once Muyun fails, the entire ninja world will no longer find someone who can deal with the ghost. Even this man, there is no way. Is it? Terumi Mei murmured desperately, biting her lip tightly. The glimmer of hope that rose in her heart because of Muyun was shattered again, and she couldn't help but become even more desperate. You must know that the most terrifying thing is not despair, but first giving hope, and then shattering hope. This is the state of Terumi Mei at this moment. Muyun. Teju clenched his hands tightly, staring at Muyun's direction. His heart was full of worry and fear. Until this moment, Teju suddenly realized that Muyun had already occupied such an important weight in his heart. I don't know why, at this moment, her heart was as uncomfortable as a needle stick. In addition to despair, she also felt a sense of suffocation. There is only that vague figure. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, recommend. Chapter 165 10,000 Thunders Annihilate the Aurora. All the movements around were ignored by Tamari, and even Gaara's shouting failed to make her come back to her senses. Muyun, you must not be in trouble. Ah. Tamari prayed secretly in his heart, and his eyes were full of worry. The spear looked at the scattered thunder and lightning giant, and his heart was overjoyed. What it feared was only the terrifying thunder and lightning power contained in the thunder and lightning giant. Losing the thunder god Muyun, not at all to be afraid of. Go to hell, ninja. At this moment, the sprite no longer thinks about torturing Muyun, and just wants to solve this hidden danger as quickly as possible. An extremely sharp thorn was formed, and it was stabbed at Muyun's back. At this moment, Muyun's domineering clearly felt the threat behind him, but after frowning, it was ignore it. Get out of the way. Under the horrified eyes of Ziyuan, and in the wild laughter of sprites, the black spikes directly pierced through Muyun's chest, creating a terrifying hole in Muyun's chest. Why, compromise? At this moment, Ziyuan's face was already full of tears, looking at Muyun's eyes full of doubts, and deeply moved. To be able to pay the price of her life for the one who just met her not long ago, how not to shock Xian? Why is there only a dead end for those who oppose me? And I will eliminate the stumbling block on my way to rule the world without hesitation, including you. Xian's murderous voice entered Xian's ears, but at this moment, Xian did not face the fear of death at all, and the expression on his face did not change at all. But what Xian didn't notice was that there was a slight the thunder and lightning flashed under its feet when it was unstoppable. Whoosh! Muyun's body appeared beside the sprite without warning, and instantly came to the side of Ziwan, who was imprisoned by the black tentacles. Lightning blade. Muyun's fingers flashed with dazzling thunder and lightning, and the blue blade of light instantly cut off the black tentacles. Muyun grabbed Ziyuan's arm, and instantly appeared on top of Sprite's head. Goodbye, Sprite. Thousands of thunders annihilate the aurora. Of the Sprite's head, endless thunder and lightning instantly extended from Muyun's palm, covering the Sprite's body in less than 1/10,000% of a second. It never occurred to me that Muyun would actually appear by its side, and even more did not expect that Muyun's action would be so decisive. Under the attack of tens of thousands of sturdy thunder and lightning, the sprite let out a shrill scream. It makes people shudder. The sprite's body was annihilated in the place where tens of thousands of thunder and lightning attacked, and its size kept shrinking. Until the end, it disappeared directly, and there is no trace left. The whole process is very fast, and it is still in Shiyuan without reacting. The sprites have already been eliminated. After a few seconds, Xian came back to his senses and said with wide eyes, "The sprites have really been eliminated." Her tone. In the middle, there is a strong disbelief. It has been almost thousands of years of cognition that sprites can only be sealed and cannot be destroyed, but now this cognition has been broken. For a time, Xian's worldview seems to be broken. It seems very the shock. After recovering, Ziyuan immediately looked at Mu Yun's chest and asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" Just now, she saw with her own eyes that the black spikes directly penetrated Mu Yun's chest, which is very similar to the future she saw. Ziyuan is now very afraid that the next moment Mu Yun will die just like the future she saw. "I'm fine, son, don't worry." Mu Yun wanted to comfort Ziyuan, but as soon as he said the words, he couldn't help spitting out a large mouthful of blood and fell directly into Ziyuan's arms. Although the elementalization helped him to be immune to the attack of black spikes, it did not completely to offset the damage. After all, the black spikes are strictly energy condensed, not pure physical attacks. Fortunately, the sprites did not use energy attacks, otherwise, Mu Yun would not have been able to win so easily. If you hadn't seen at the moment when his chest was penetrated, the sprite relaxed his vigilance, and coupled with the flying thunder god created by himself, it would definitely take a lot of work for Mu Yun to destroy the sprite. "You are injured." Ziyuan's face turned pale. The moment she saw Mu Yun spewing blood, her heart was about to jump out, and the whole person suddenly fell into a state of bewilderment. Mu Yun smiled helplessly and reached out to touch Ziyuan. With smooth cheeks, he said, "Don't worry, it's just a little injury, it's nothing serious." Seeing that Mu Yun's expression didn't seem to be fake, Ziyuan was relieved and said, "Then find a medical ninja for treatment." Mu Yun nodded, and took Shiyuan towards Kakashi and others dozens of kilometers away. "Return your life." On the way, Mu Yun directly used the 6 highest profound meaning of life to return, and began to slowly repair the damage to his body. The power of sprites is very strange, and the energy remaining in Mu Yun's body is still slowly eating away at Mu Yun's cells, causing the injury to gradually worsen. Therefore, Mu Yun had to use the return of life for treatment, otherwise he would not have been saved before the medical ninja. With the natural energy of Li Zhao's life, the return is very powerful, and Mu Yun can even feel that his injuries are recovering quickly. The 6th naval form is really a good thing. It can fight and defend, and it can recover to the highest level of cultivation. It's an omnipotent skill. Mu Yun has hardly used the reinforcement points to strengthen the 6th form of the Navy. In the later stage, he cultivated all by himself, but under the powerful physique of Mu Yun, the cultivation progress is very fast. Until now, Mu Yun has mastered the most advanced 6th style skills. Even if you are a strong man who has been immersed in the 6th style naval style for decades, I am afraid that he cannot be compared with himself. After all, although Mu Yun did not use the reinforcement points to strengthen the 6th style naval style, the strengthening of the physique is the same. Technical skills. If you have a strong physique, you will get twice the result with half the effort when you practice. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 166 Never Be Apart Again. The sprites are really wiped out. Kakashi opened one eye wide and muttered a little excitedly. Just now, when he saw Mu Yun's sudden burst of big moves, his heart was full of tension, for fear that Mu Yun would fail, and neither of them would want to live by then. But when he saw Mu Yun being supported by Shiyuan and walking towards him and others, Kakashi reacted instantly. The sprite was really destroyed. "Quick, medical ninja, prepare for treatment right away." Seeing Mu Yun being supported, Kakashi understood almost instantly that although Mu Yun eliminated the sprite, he must have suffered a lot of damage. Otherwise, with Mu Yun's character, how could it be possible for someone to support him? Judging from the current situation, Mu Yun is definitely not lightly injured. In fact, how does Kakashi know that the reason why Muyun is being supported is because the other party is Ziwan, a beautiful woman? If it were a man, Muyun would definitely will throw off each other. Muyun. Tears in Shuju's eyes. He rushed towards Muyun and hugged Muyun. The tears flowed uncontrollably. Do you know how worried I was about you just now? If something happened to you, what should I do? What to do? Looking at the emotional Temari, Muyun smiled, touched Temari's hair, and said, how could I have an accident? It's just a mere jerk. Am I not doing well now? After sobbing for a while, seeing that the medical ninja had come to Muyun's side, Temari let go of Muyun reluctantly, and hurriedly said, hurry up and check on Muyun. She was really afraid that Muyun would have an accident. After she understood what she was thinking just now, Temari couldn't imagine how she would live after losing Muyun. Sometimes, the meaning of life is not in yourself, but in others, and Temari now Muyun can no longer be lacking in his life, just like the relationship between fish and water. Konoha's medical ninja heard the words and immediately stepped forward to check Muyun's injury, but Muyun did not stop it. Although he has been treated with life return, it is not so easy to heal, and there are some minor problems that are not too serious. Telling these not too serious problems through the mouth of the medical ninja can also make Temari feel at ease after a while. The medical ninja wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, Master Muyun's physical condition is not very good, especially in the chest area, where the local bones are necrotic. The most important thing is that the heart activity of Lord Muyun has become weak. This is not an ordinary minor injury, but fortunately, Lord Muyun's body is strong, and there will be no problem in a short time. When I return to Konoha, if Hokage-sama personally treats me, I will definitely recover. Muyun nodded with a smile. Naturally, he deliberately showed these questions to the medical ninja. The purpose was to make Temari no longer worry. Sure enough, Temari who got the answer was relieved, then hurry back to the village. The injury is critical, don't delay. Although Temari really wanted to stay with Muyun for a while, but considering Muyun's injury, he still suppressed his inner thoughts. You can meet Muyun anytime, but if the time is delayed and the injury worsens, she will not cry anymore. Okay, since the sprites have been eliminated, our goal has been accomplished, and it is time to go back. Looking at Kakashi's inquiring gaze, Muyun nodded. Staying here has lost its meaning, and it's time to go home. Shion said hesitantly, are you going to leave soon? To be honest, although the contact time was not long, Ziyuan had already developed deep feelings for Muyun, so she was a little reluctant to hear that Muyun was leaving. Muyun looked at Ziyuan with a tangled look on his face, and said, if you want, you can also follow me and leave. I believe you will like Konoha's environment. Besides, after such a war, the country of ghosts has been destroyed almost. Even if the ghosts have been eliminated, the citizens of the country of ghosts who have left are not expected to come back. The battle between Muyun and sprites directly rewritten most of the terrain of the country of ghosts, and now the territory of the country of ghosts is almost a mess. Especially within the radius of 100 kilometers where Muyun and sprites fought, they were destroyed. The horrific sight, deep potholes can be seen everywhere on the ground, and all the buildings have long since been turned into ruins. It can be said that after this battle, Ziwan directly lost her home. In fact, there is no way to do this. After reaching the super shadow level, random battles will change the terrain, especially when fighting with a guy with great destructive power. Both sides are players with terrifying destructive power, and the outbreak of the battle will definitely destroy a large area. Shion thought for a while, then shook his head and said, although it is a helpless thing to get out of trouble, but after all, as a witch in the land of ghosts, I can't just walk away like this. I want to stay here and try to rebuild the country of ghosts. Maybe the citizens who have left will come back. Anyway, after living in the country of ghosts for so many years, I always have feelings. What Ziyuan said is not without reason. Anyone must have feelings for their hometown, and maybe there will be citizens of the country of ghosts returning to participate in the reconstruction. Without interfering with Ziyuan's decision, Muyun said, that's good. Well, when you want to leave, come to Konoha. Konoha welcomes you at any time. Said, Muyun took out a kunai from the ninja bag and handed it to Ziwan. You hold this kunai, I will come to see you every once in a while. If you are in danger, just crush this kunai, and I will be there as soon as possible. Ziyuan doesn't have chakra, so he can't inject chakra into Kuwu to inform himself, so Muyun has left a special technique in Kuwu in advance. As long as Kuwu is destroyed, he can sense it as soon as possible. Ziyuan accepted Kuwu with a smile on his face, then stood on tiptoe and left a kiss on Muyun's lips, and said, "Thank you, for helping me eliminate the ghosts, and willing to sacrifice my life for me. After rebuilding the country of ghosts, I will go to Konoha to find you, and we will never be separated again." Chapter 167 Sudden Change. Feeling the warm touch remaining on his lips, listening to Ziyuan's affectionate words, Muyun nodded and said with a smile, "I will wait for that day to come. I hope that when the time comes, we can never be separated again." Listening to the conversation between Muyun and Ziyuan, especially seeing Ziyuan's actions, Tamari was suddenly jealous, but he didn't say anything. She knew very well that a powerful man like Muyun was destined to be impossible for her to be restrained by a woman. Besides, she had accepted the existence of Hinata and Ino, and it was no worse than Shion. After saying goodbye, Muyun was about to leave with Konoha's ninja, but at this moment, the fourth Raikage spoke up. "Wait, you can't leave yet." From the beginning of the battle, the shadows of their four great ninja villages had a deep fear of Muyun. They knew very well that one day in the future, Muyun would be their biggest enemy. But since Muyun eliminated the sprites to now, but no one stood up, the fourth ranking was a hot temper, and finally couldn't help but take the lead. In the eyes of the fourth ranking, the current Muyun was injured, and it was an excellent way to get rid of the opponent. If the opportunity is missed, there may never be another chance. If Muyun hadn't been injured, he wouldn't dare to stand up even if he had a hot temper and no brains, but Muyun's injury gave him a glimmer of hope. Get rid of Muyun's hope. Seeing the fourth Raikage stand up, Oyemu and the others suddenly fell silent, and did not do anything. They considered more than the fourth Raikage. Although Muyun is injured, who knows how much this injury affects Muyun's strength. If Muyun's combat power is not affected, no, even if only half of his combat power is left, it is not something they can deal with. Terumi May glanced at each other. Neither of them were stupid, and they understood each other's meaning in an instant. Let the fourth Raikage test it out first. Yun is not only his brother-in-law, but also a life-saving benefactor. He has also solved the knot in his heart. It is impossible for Gaara to attack Muyun. The fourth generation of Raikage looked at the reaction of the other three, especially when he looked at Oyemu, cursed the old fox inwardly. At this moment, the fourth Raikage also knew that he was impulsive, and even his actions were within the expectations of Oyemu. Oyemu used him as a spearman. Muyun looked at the fourth Raikage who was standing in front of him. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Fourth Raikage, what do you mean?" In the heart of the fourth Raikage. This is to take advantage of his injury to kill himself and eradicate the threat of himself. The fourth Raikage said, "There is nothing that our position is different. I admire that you can eliminate it. Sprite, save the world, but from the perspective of Union Village, this is a good opportunity to get rid of it. If you miss this opportunity, I am afraid that in the future, we will suffer a big loss, so I can only say that it is very regrettable." Hearing what the fourth generation of Raikage said, Kakashi's face changed immediately, and he appeared directly in front of Muyun, and a group of thunder and lightning suddenly appeared in his hand. "Time is crazy, Your Excellency the fourth Raikage, don't you really want to tell Muyun to know that this time we are teaming up to deal with the sprites, not the enemy?" Kakashi's heart is unusually solemn. Don't look at the four generations of Raikage as if they are playing. That is because the strength of the four generations of Raikage is much stronger. But for his own strength, Kakashi is still very clear. He is definitely not the opponent of the fourth Raikage, so if the fourth Raikage really shoots, he will definitely not be able to stop him. Now that Muyun is injured, maybe it will really make the fourth Raikage succeed. Kill Muyun. Not to mention Muyun's strength, you must know that Muyun is now the minister of the Dark Ministry. If he is really killed by the fourth generation of Reikage, it will be a shame for the entire Konoha, and it is a shame for Kakashi. Kakashi also believes that the injured Muyun has little fighting power. But the sprites have been eliminated, and the so-called alliance has lost the meaning of existence. I announce that Union Village will withdraw from this alliance. Hearing this, Kakashi's nerves were tense to the extreme. It seems that the fourth generation of Reikage is determined to take action, and has not cared about his face at all. It seems that Muyun is really putting a lot of pressure on him. Look, with Kakashi on guard, the fourth Reikage shook his head and said, "Technician Konoha, Kakashi is indeed a character, but if he wants to stop me, he is not qualified." A swoosh, the body of the fourth Reikage disappeared in place in an instant, directly bypassing Kakashi and appearing behind Kakashi. Kakashi's pupils shrunk to the size of a pinhead, and he was very horrified. I never imagined that the speed of the fourth Reikage was so fast. For a long time, due to the influence of Muyun, he did not have a precise understanding of the speed of the fourth Reikage, but at this moment, Kakashi finally understood that he could become the fourth generation of Reikage. The strength is indeed not blown out. After bypassing Kakashi, the fourth generation of Reikage suddenly appeared on the top of Muyun's head, flashing thunder light all over his body. He has entered the Lei Dun chakra mode, his right leg is already Haigao lifts up. Although it's a pity, I have to take action. Your existence is too much of a threat to other people. Yi Lei Shen Furious Thunder Axe. The foot that contained the whole body of Reing of the fourth generation fell directly at Muyun, and the air was directly stepped on by this foot, making an overwhelmed explosion. Shield of Sand. At this moment, Gaara raised both hands, and a large amount of yellow sand rose directly from the soles of Muyun's feet, forming a huge and generous shield, blocking the top of Muyun's head. It landed on the sand shield, and instantly kicked a large amount of yellow sand, and a crack appeared directly on the incomparably strong sand shield. Ka. As the crack continued to expand, after a few seconds, the sand shield it shattered directly, but the foot of the fourth Reikage has also lost its attack power. The fourth Reikage twisted his waist directly in the air, and landed on the ground with a backflip. After standing up, he glared at Gaara and said, "Wu Dai Fengying, what do you want to do?" At this moment, the heart of the fourth Reikage is full of anger, almost drowning the sense of reason. To read the underlined version of the novel. Chapter 168 Day Tiger. Seeing that his long-charged attack was about to be successful, but it was blocked by Gaara, you can imagine how angry the fourth Reikage was. If it wasn't for Gaara to disrupt the situation, maybe now he has already successfully killed Muyun. Thinking of this, the fourth generation of Reiking's heart is even more angry, staring at Gaara fiercely, wishing to kill Gaara on the spot. Watching the fourth generation of Reiking angry with an incomparable appearance, Gaara stepped forward immediately, stood directly beside Kakashi, and said, "I am sorry, fourth Reikage, if you want to kill Muyun, I will never agree." Gaara's tone is full of firmness, and her expression is very serious. If the fourth generation of Reikage insists on taking action, then even if he sacrifices his life, he must protect Muyun. At the same time, Gaara's eyes, 15 inches 7. He glanced at Onogi and Terumi Mei vaguely, and these two guys probably wouldn't stay out of it. In fact, if there was no such relationship as brother-in-law and Muyun had not saved his own life, ask yourself, Gaara would also make peace. The same choice as the 4 generations of Reikage. It is estimated that Onogi and Terumi Mei will not be grazing clouds so easily. I am afraid they are just borrowing the hands of the 4 generations of Reikage to test whether Muyun still has combat effectiveness. And Gaara's sight is fixed on. I believe that Kurabi will not stand idly by, as the 8-tailed Manzuri, and the younger brother of the 4th Reikage. All in all, this is troublesome, and it is almost a mortal situation. 4th Reikage Fury, he said with a smile. Okay, it's really a stinky brat. It's ridiculous to dare to stand up directly to stop me. If you want to stop me, you're still a long way off, kid, since you don't know what's good or bad, don't blame me for killing you together. Just when the 4th Reikage was about to start again, a ninja wearing a dark green tights stood up. Kakashi, it should be my Konoha's blue beast. it's time for Matekai to appear. Kakashi, you should understand it. Matekai stood in front of Kakashi, facing the fourth Hokage, and said without fear. For Kai, it doesn't matter whether it is the fourth generation of Hokage or the third generation of Hokage. In Matekai's eyes, they are just enemies. K, is it impossible, you want? A close friend of Matekai, Kakashi naturally knows the terrifying power of the 8 gates. It is by no means impossible to be Kai's opponent. But the price of the 8th gate is too great, and it is almost inevitable. It is not difficult for Matekai to make up his mind, but Kakashi cannot accept this result. Turkey nodded solemnly. Said, Kakashi, when my youth is burning now, my youth does not allow me to step back. As my best friend, you will support me, Kakashi. Kakashi froze for a moment, and his eyes suddenly became wet. Said, Kai, as long as you don't regret it. Kakashi is very clear about Matekai's character. What this guy decides, how to persuade it is useless. So Kakashi can only agree. Matekai smiled and said, Kakashi, wait for you to rush to Konoha village with Muyun at full speed. I will try my best to hold these people down and try to kill them so that they won't chase you. But I can't guarantee it, so returning to Konoha as soon as possible is the safest choice. Although Matekai usually looks nervous, he is not stupid at the critical moment. He also feels that Onogi and Terumi Mei don't want to leave Muyun. At that time, he will face the shadows of the three villages and the hundreds of Junin, so I can't guarantee that they will be absolutely killed here. You are shameless, even Chinsho Tsunade would not dare to say such a big thing. What are you? I'll let you see, you can't do anything. The whole body was covered with a faint thunder light, and the hair of the fourth generation raking stood upside down, and it was already in full force. The fourth generation raying with full speed was faster than before, and rushed directly towards Muyun. In the past, I completely ignored the existence of Matekai. In fact, it is not surprising that the fourth generation of Hokage looked down on Matekai. Although Kai's strength is not weak, he can even kick Ludaoban to half-death with one kick. After all, Baman Dunjia is a forbidden technique, and the price is too high, so Matekai has not used it much, so it is not famous. It's just today, at this moment, that Matekai is destined to become famous in the ninja world. Dai Hokage will also pay the price for his arrogance. 8 gates, the 7th shock gate, open. With a violent drink from Matekai, blue steam suddenly rose from his body. At this moment, Matekai's chakra directly increased tenfold. A whirlwind came from around Matekai's body. Appeared, slowly spread around, blowing dust on the ground. Boom! As soon as Matekai moved his feet, his body instantly disappeared in place, and a pothole appeared directly on the ground where he just stood, and the web-like cracks spread out on the ground. Onogi and Terumi Mei, who had been observing Matekai, suddenly changed their expressions. The explosive force of this moment made them feel a little bit of fear. The next moment, Matekai's body, the fourth Hokage, appeared directly in front of him, and he punched the fourth Hokage with an expressionless face, hitting directly on the chest of the fourth Hokage. Matekai, who was in the 7-door state, punched. The power is very terrifying. I saw that the body of the fourth Hokage was like a kite with a broken string. 5. 7 flew out and slammed into the ground savagely. A clear fist print on his chest emerged directly, and a trace of blood slowly flowed down the corner of his mouth. Of course, there was Matekai among them. The reason for the strength is strong, but there is also a part of the reason that the fourth generation of Hokage did not take Matekai to heart at all, and directly suffered a big loss. Without the slightest expression, he came to the sky above the fourth Hokage. His hands suddenly formed a seal, aiming at the fourth Hokage below. Without giving the fourth Hokage any chance to speak, Matekai suddenly shouted, "Day Tiger!" Roar! The huge air bomb in the shape of a giant tiger roared out in an instant, and devoured the fourth Hokage fiercely. Phyllu reminds you. 3 things to read for collection, recommended. Chapter 169 Strong Suppression. Big Brother. Kurabi's face changed dramatically, and he wanted to step forward to block the fourth Hokage in an instant, but it was too late. The speed of the giant tiger was very fast, and he came to the fourth rakeage almost in a blink of an eye. Ruthlessly swallowed the fourth rakeage. PFF'd. A large mouthful of blood spurted out, the ground cracked open and stretched out for thousands of meters, and the body of the fourth rakeage sank deep into the ground. After the huge air bomb hit the fourth rakeage, it exploded instantly. With all the power, he left savage wounds directly on the body of the fourth-generation rakeage, and the blood sprayed out. Killed him. Kurabi instantly rushed to Rakeage's side, lifted his body gently, and asked, "Brother, are you all right?" Looking at the miserable appearance of the fourth rakeage, Kurabi's heart was full of anger, and he was also very worried about the injury of the fourth rakeage. "Ahem, I'm fine, don't worry." An extremely ugly smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and the fourth rakeage said in a hoarse voice. In order not to worry Kurabi, the fourth rakeage did not say how serious his injury was. He could clearly feel that Matekai's move directly shattered all the bones on his body. Oh, especially the ribs on the chest, at least 7 or 8 were broken. Oyegi's pupils shrank, and he said, "What a terrifying ninja of taijutsu, I didn't expect Konoha to have such a strong person, why haven't I heard it before?" Said his name. This is also where Onogi is confused. With the strength of Matekai, he should not be unknown. Onogi believes that if he was hit by this, he would definitely be more miserable than the fourth rakeage, and he might die on the spot. After all, his body defense is not as strong as the fourth generation of rakeage, and there is no such thing as thunder and lightning armor to defend it. Moreover, Matekai's speed is amazing, and it is almost impossible to avoid this kind of attack. Terumi Mei's eyes flashed, and she said, "But we have no choice, don't you? Don't you see that although his physical skills are very terrifying, they don't seem to be able to support him in a long battle?" Glanced at each other and shot at the same time. At the same time, Kurabi was also surging with tailed beast chakra, thinking about Matekai's siege. Matekai's face instantly became serious. They must be resolved as soon as possible. Muyun must not be in trouble. 8 Gates of Dunjia, 8th Gate of Death. Just when Matekai was about to open all 8 doors, the light flashed and appeared directly in front of Matekai. With his palm on Matekai's shoulder, Muyun said in a deep voice, "Okay, now you can." "No, when you bloomed youth, I didn't lose my fighting power yet." Saying that, a terrifying thunderbolt shot out in an instant, directly knocking Oyemu and the others into the air. "I don't know if you should be said to be courageous but ignorant." Looking at Oyemu and the others, Muyun said, "Could it be that if you and I are injured, you will be able to defeat me?" "I have to say, what a naive idea." Onogi secretly said. Too bad, he never imagined that Muyun still had fighting power. But now that the arrow was on the line, he had to send it out, and Anamu immediately shot, the technique of stripping away the dust escape. With Anamu's shot, Kurabi and others also shot instantly. Kurabi instantly entered the state of tailed beast, and the huge octopus tentacles slammed against Muyun. Thunder Tiger. Muyun stretched out one hand, and a huge thunder and lightning tiger roared out directly at Daemu and the others, and after directly tore apart Daemu's dust escape, it smashed Daemu fiercely. Kurabi collided together, and in an instant, the huge body of the 8 tails flew out. Terumi Mei stood there and did not move. The moment Muyun shot, she knew that they failed, even if she failed. It was useless to take action. As expected, Anamu and the others were instantly defeated by Muyun, and even Kurabi, who was transformed into a tailed beast, was instantly repulsed. Anamu was in a coma when he fell to the ground. A large area of scorched black on the body, obviously the injury is not light. Damn. And lightning tiger that was tens of meters tall and roaring fiercely, Kurabi was instantly furious and began to gather chakra frantically, and the huge tailed beast jade slowly formed on the top of the 8 tails. The giant tiger appeared directly on the top of Bawei's head, the huge claws slammed it down, and directly pressed the tailed beast jade on Bawei's head. Rumbling, the violent thunder and lightning and the huge tailed beast jade were at the same time. It erupted, and the terrifying energy storm directly swallowed the entire body of the 8 tails. After a while, the energy storm dissipated, and Kurabi was directly forced to cancel the tail beast mode under this terrifying attack, and his body was covered in blood. Passed out in a coma. Although Muyun suppressed Dayemu and the others with the power of thunder, the powerful force that erupted in an instant made his injury worse, but Muyun didn't show it. Shuiying, what do? You have made a wise decision, or you will definitely be among the people lying on the ground now. I hope you can learn a lesson. Next time, you won't be so lucky. When Oyemu and the others wake up, bring my words to them and make their eyes brighter. Taking a deep look at Terumi Mei, Muyun turned around immediately. Let's go, Kakashi. Looking at the backs of Muyun and the others leaving, Terumi Mei instantly collapsed to the ground. Just when Muyun glanced at her, her whole body seemed to have fallen into an ice cave, and a strong sense of fear filled her mind. But in front of Muyun, she still managed not to fall down, and now that Muyun left, she couldn't hold on anymore, and took a big mouthful of fresh air. What a terrifying man, just his aura can make him go. I'm like falling into an ice cave. How far has your strength reached? Even in an injured state, it can instantly suppress the eight-tailed human pillar power after the tail beast transformation. Terumi Mei's heart was not only horrified, but also deeply curious. She was very interested in Muyun's strength. Perhaps, the current Muyun is already the strongest in the ninja world. Chapter 170 Emergency Treatment. Looking at the back of Muyun's departure, she was dazed, and Terumi Mei had a strange feeling in her heart that she couldn't explain. There was a sense of crisis, and even a little admiration. In short, it was very complicated. Wait until the figures of Muyun and others completely disappeared. After that, all the ninjas present reacted. It's too terrifying to be able to instantly defeat Master Tsuchikage in an injured state. What is this? Lord Kurabi has been completely transformed into a tailed beast, and he was instantly defeated and even seriously injured. This is the most terrifying thing, okay. Also, that, Konoha's taijutsu ninja, what kind of beast guy, is also very strong, and the Raikage-sama who can actually fight back has no power to fight back. It's really terrifying. All the ninjas present immediately started talking. God knows how shocked their hearts are. In one day today, the strongest shadow in their eyes was actually hanged and beaten one after another. This situation even made their worldview almost shattered. If they weren't ninjas with strong will, they would have collapsed long ago. After completely disappearing from the sight of Terumi Mei and others, Muyun instantly felt a buzzing sound in his mind, and the scene in front of him quickly disappeared in his eyes. Fell down. Muyun, you're all right, Muyun. Kakashi's face changed drastically in an instant. If something happened to Muyun, it is estimated that Tsunade would tear him down. No one would know what the furious Tsunade would do, and it would be a big trouble then. Thinking of this, Kakashi suddenly shouted, medical ninja, come and check Muyun's situation. Following Kakashi's shouting, a medical ninja hurriedly came to Muyun's side and began to check. After a while, the medical ninja said seriously, Lord Kakashi, originally, Lord Muyun. Although the injury is not minor, it is not serious. But just now, when he shot again, a powerful force erupted. Although he instantly defeated the 3 generations of Tsuchikage and others, it also affected the injuries in his body. We must get to Konoha as soon as possible, otherwise, it is estimated that Muyun will never wake up again. The medical ninja's words made Kakashi instantly dignified and asked, how long can Muyun last in the current situation? After pondering for a while, the medical ninja said, at most 2 days, within 2 days I can stabilize Lord Muyun's injury, but after 2 days, I can't do anything about it. Kakashi nodded and shouted, leave one Shangnin to lead the team at full speed, and the other Shangnin follow me to escort Muyun to Konoha as soon as possible. Kakashi carried Muyun on his back and jumped directly to the top of the tree. Chakra ran with all his strength and ran towards Konoha, followed by Chi-8, a Shangnin, and formed a defensive formation to protect Shimuyun. Inside, I hope this journey goes smoothly, otherwise, it will be troublesome. Kakashi quickly passed the treetops, his heart was very heavy. Fortunately, there was nothing on the way, and it only took a day and a half for Kakashi to bring Muyun back to Konoha. "What's the matter?" Shocked when he saw Muyun lying on Kakashi's back, and hurried. Asked in a low voice. Trusts Muyun's strength very much. It is precisely because of this that Muyun leads the team to the country of ghosts, but now Muyun is unconscious, making Tsunade feel at a loss. Kakashi will be roughly the situation. He talked to Tsunade and said, "Lord Hokage, that's the way it is. Hurry up and heal Muyun. It's been a long delay, and I'm afraid Muyun won't be able to hold it." Along the way, thanks to the medical ninjas who have been constantly stabilizing Muyun's injury, it is estimated that it will not last until now. Tsunade nodded solemnly and said, "Send Muyun to Konoha Hospital immediately. I will be there soon. As for other things, wait until Muyun wakes up." Tsunade immediately put down what he was doing, and went straight to Konoha Hospital after getting ready. The importance of Muyun to Konoha is self-evident. If something really happened, it would be really troublesome. Cassie happened to meet Hinata and Ino on the way to the hospital. When the two girls saw the unconscious Muyun, their expressions changed greatly. "Mr. Kakashi, what happened to Muyun?" Ino grabbed Kakashi and asked anxiously. "I don't have time to explain too much to you. I will send Muyun to Konoha Hospital first, and Lord Hokage will treat Muyun right away. Relax, it will definitely be fine." After saying this, Kakashi's figure disappeared directly from the sight of Ino and Hinata. And Ino and Hinata also rushed to Konoha Hospital, praying constantly in their hearts, "If something happened to Muyun, they would. I really don't know what to do." As the lights in the operating room turned on, Tsunade's treatment officially began. "Mr. Kakashi, what happened? Why did Muyun fall into a coma?" Facing Ino's question, Kakashi explained the situation in detail to the two daughters, who were both very worried. Looking at the appearance of the second daughter, Kakashi said with relief, "Don't worry too much, with Lord Hokage's medical skills, Muyun will definitely be fine." After a full 7 hours, Tsunade came out of the operating room with a relieved smile on his face. Ino immediately stepped forward and asked, "Lord Hokage, how is the situation?" Although Hinata didn't speak, the worry in his eyes was no less than that of Ino. Looking at Ino and Hinata, Tsunade slowly asked Li Jiao to say, "It's all right, fortunately Muyun's vitality is strong enough, otherwise it will be I can't do anything either. Now just wait for Muyun to wake up by himself, maybe Muyun will be able to wake up tomorrow morning." Tsunade was very fortunate in his heart. After the initial inspection of Muyun's situation, even Tsunade, who had treated many wounded people, couldn't help but be surprised. Muyun's muscles all over his body were torn apart, the bones in his chest were almost shattered, and his internal organs were also damaged to varying degrees. Tsunade even thought that Muyun was useless. But in the middle of the treatment, a large amount of vitality poured out of Muyun's body, and he began to recover independently. If it wasn't for that vitality, even Tsunade would be powerless. Fortunately, there was nothing serious in the end, and Tsunade also, you can rest assured. Chapter 171 Awaken and Strengthen Again. After receiving this answer, Hinata and Ino finally breathed a sigh of relief, and the hearts that were raised high could be regarded as falling back into their stomachs. Even Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that before Muyun left, the 3 generations of Toying and others were seriously injured. If Muyun really had an accident and other ninja villages came to ask for trouble, they would really. I can't resist. Fortunately, Muyun finally survived. Early the next morning, Hinata and Ino came to the hospital, each carrying a lunchbox in their hands, and walked towards Muyun's ward. At this time, Muyun had already woken up, and I have to say, even Muyun himself felt very thrilled this time. Originally, he had used his life to control the injury, but he never expected that he would take the shot with the injury. It would cause such serious consequences that it almost cost him his life. Fortunately, my body has been strengthened and tough, otherwise, this time it is estimated that it is really hanging. After going through this incident, Muyun felt even more that the body was the most important thing, and also felt that it was a wise choice to strengthen the body without wasting a single bit of strengthening point. But the strengthening of the body is very difficult, and it is fortunate that he has always adhered to the principle of the supremacy of the body. However, although this time is extremely thrilling, the strengthening points obtained are also the most in history, and even surpassed all previous strengthening points. The sum of the points. Looking at the 3.2 million enhancement points on the system panel, a smile suddenly appeared on Mu-yun's face. This wave is not a loss. Although Tsunade has already treated me, it is estimated that it will take a day at most to recover, but it's really hard to lie in a hospital bed like this. System, use all strengthening points to strengthen my body. In fact, there is another advantage of strengthening the body with strengthening points. That is, it will heal all the injuries of the body at the same time. No matter how serious the injury is, it can be cured after the strengthening. But now I have to use it. When Mu-yun's voice fell, the 3.2 million strengthening points suddenly turned into a majestic energy, and began to swim in Mu-yun's body, strengthening every inch of flesh and bone, every bone. And when the strengthening started, Mu-yun closed his eyes again and fell asleep. Just at this moment, Hinata and Ino walked into the ward. Seeing Mu-yun with his eyes closed, Ino said suspiciously, "What's the matter? Didn't Lord Hokage say that Mu-yun will wake up this morning? Why is Mu-yun still in a coma?" As she said that, a worried look appeared in her eyes again. Hinata shook his head and said, "But don't worry too much, maybe it's because the time hasn't come yet. After all, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe I'll wake up a little later." Compared with Ino's worries, Hinata is more optimistic. She knows she can't be in a mess, at least she has to wait until the morning time is completely over. However, I also prepared chicken soup to nourish Mu-yun's body. Won't it get cold in a while? Ino looked at the insulation box in his hand and said, "I also prepared multigrain porridge, but since Mu-yun hasn't woken up, there's a way to do it. Let's make another after Mu-yun wakes up." Hinata shook the pink thermal box in his hand and said. Ino nodded and said, "Well then. Is Mu-yun still awake?" At this moment, Tsunade suddenly pushed open the door and entered. Looking at Mu-yun with his eyes tightly closed, he said. Hinata nodded and said, "Yes, Lord Hokage." Tsunade stepped forward to check Mu-yun's body and said, "It's nothing serious, don't worry too much, you will definitely wake up." Tsunade didn't stay much. She still has a lot of work to do. It's rare to find time to visit. It was not until 10:30 that Mu-yun slowly opened his eyes, and when he turned his head, he saw Ino and Hinata sitting beside his hospital bed. "Mu-yun, how are you feeling when you wake up? Are you feeling better?" As soon as Hinata and Ino saw Mu-yun woke up, they immediately asked. Seeing the 2 thermal insulation boxes on the table, Mu-yun warmed his heart and said, "Don't worry, my current state is better than ever before, don't worry." Said, Mu-yun stretched out his hand and directly took down the pink heat preservation box among the 2 heat preservation boxes on the table. "I'm a little hungry, this is the breakfast you brought me, I'll eat it first." Saying that, Mu-yun directly opened the thermal insulation box, and immediately saw a box full of miscellaneous grain porridge, and a fragrance rushed to his face. Mu-yun instantly understood that this was brought by Hinata, because Ino's craftsmanship was still quite different from Hinata's. "Mu-yun, don't eat it, you just woke up, this porridge is cold, I'll make you another one right away." Hinata said, and was about to reach out and take away the thermal insulation box in Mu-yun's hand. Mu-yun avoided Hinata's hand and said, "It's okay, I'm not that delicate yet, my body is very good, besides, this porridge is still warm, I'm starving to death." He was telling the truth. He had just finished strengthening, and he hadn't eaten for 2 days. With Mu-yun's physical fitness, he was already hungry and dizzy. Under the complex gaze of Hinata's worry and anticipation, Mu-yun-san after 5 and 2, he ate the whole grain porridge, and then drank the chicken soup made by Ino. Wiping his mouth, Mu-yun said, "It's delicious, but I'm not full." Feeling the strong hunger in his abdomen, Mu-yun proposed to be discharged from the hospital. He really couldn't stand this hunger. In the end, they couldn't beat Muyun, so Hinata and Ino agreed to Muyun's request to be discharged from the hospital. After leaving the hospital, Muyun ate 3 whole cows before he felt full, which directly made Hinata and Ino stunned. Looking at Muyun's incomparably flat belly, Hinata and Ino looked at each other. Their eyes were full of doubts. They didn't know how Muyun had eaten so much. How could it be the same as not eating? How did they know that with Muyun's current physical quality, the food he eats will instantly turn into energy to replenish Muyun's body, and there is no way to digest it? At night, Muyun stayed in his bedroom, facing the system. Said, "System, open my properties panel." Chapter 172 Goodbye Uchiha Itachi. I spent all day with Hinata and Ino, and I don't have time to observe the changes in my strength. Although I feel that I have greatly improved, Muyun still doesn't know how much it has improved. Therefore, after returning home, Muyun immediately began to observe the changes in his strength. Host, Muyun. Age, 16 years old. Physique, 722-2. Strength, 722-2. Speed, 702-2. Spirit, 722-2. Thunder attribute natural energy. 150,000 can be ingested and used at any time. Strength rating, Super Shadow. Close black lens bracket, it's even more than doubled. Looking at the changes in the attribute panel, Muyun's eyes widened instantly. After smashing more than 3 million enhancement points, Muyun knew that this upgrade would be terrifying, but he didn't expect that it would be so terrifying, which would directly increase his strength. It's more than doubled, and this is only a manifestation of the data. The real combat power is definitely much higher than this data. Surprised, Muyun calmed down. After all, it's not a bad thing. The stronger the strength, the better. Well, he is eager to break through to the 6th level in one fell swoop. In the blink of an eye, a week passed, and during this week, Muyun spent almost every day with Hinata and Ino. Of course, after the Ghost Country incident, the relationship between Konoha and the other 4 ninja villages has become very bad, especially Union Village, who once wanted to wage war on Konoha. But it is still unclear whether Muyun is it's really nothing to do before. On this day, Muyun found Matekai, who was cultivating. "Muyun, are you here to cultivate too?" Sure enough, youth will not be let down. He saw Muyun. Matekai suddenly showed his signature smile, and a bright light flashed on his front teeth, which was very dazzling. Muyun twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "Kai, I came to you this time. There is something I want to discuss with you." Seeing the serious expression on Muyun's face, Matekai put away his smile. Although he was very nervous, he was not a fool, so he naturally knew that Muyun might be looking for him for something serious. "Lee, you can cultivate by yourself. Don't be lazy, I'll deal with it." After speaking, Matekai directly followed Mu to the training ground. Walking on the street of Konoha with Matekai, Muyun said, "Kai, I came to you this time to invite you to join Anbu, do you agree?" Muyun came to Matekai, naturally, with a purpose. He once forgot about the existence of Matekai before. Speaking of which, Matekai is definitely a shadow-level powerhouse. Even at a critical moment, Matekai is even more terrifying than Lao Zi. Hearing this, Matekai was silent for a moment. Said, "Anbu, where Nishi once stayed, only the powerful ninjas who have been recognized are qualified to join." Thinking for a moment, Matekai said sternly, "Okay, I agree to join Anbu." After receiving Matekai's answer, Muyun suddenly showed a smile, because the system's reminder had arrived, and another 100,000 reinforcement points had been credited. "Kai, you are welcome to join. With your joining, Anbu's strength will be even higher." 1 floor. Naturally happy about the addition of Matekai, to be honest. With the 8 doors fully open, even Muyun himself has no absolute certainty that he can win it. The addition of such a strong man made Muyun very happy. At this moment, Muyun frowned. With a wrinkle, a familiar chakra appeared in his perception. The smile on Muyun's face disappeared, and he said to Matekai, "Kai, I have something to deal with. You go to practice first, I'll take you all the coverage in the evening." Without waiting for Matekai to answer, Muyun directly disappeared from Matekai's sight. Who suddenly disappeared? The expression on Matekai's face was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head and said, "Youth, it's so full of vitality." To be honest, in fact, with Matekai's strength, it is a bit far-fetched to join Anbu. After all, before every battle, Kai will report to his family, which is a very troublesome habit. But in Muyun's eyes, this is not a big problem. The Anbu under his leadership is divided into two parts. One part is in the dark, it is a ninja specializing in collecting information. And the other part is the combat department. The combat department no longer needs to hide their identity, and does not even have a mask, so it does not exist. Self-reporting the shortcomings of the family. In fact, Muyun originally felt that there was a problem with the Anbu system. It is right for the intelligence ninja to hide his identity, but the hidden identity of the battle ninja is more harmful than beneficial, and it is not conducive to long-term development at all. No matter which world it is, human beings will always have vanity. Ninjas become stronger not only to protect their own safety, but also to make a name for themselves. Although it is always said that the ninjas in Anbu are the elites among the elites, who knows that it may be possible at the beginning he will join Anbu because of his novelty, but seeing that he has no chance to show his face, everyone will be tired. As for the possibility of enemy revenge, this is even more out of Muyun's consideration. The enemy's revenge can't bear it, then how to perform the task to hide the identity? There is always a feeling of fear in it. Maybe this is not reflected, but it does exist. The advantage of lifting the restriction of hiding identity is that far more than the disadvantages, the most straightforward manifestation is that it can enhance the sense of honor of the Anbu ninja. Become the object of worship of the villagers and other ninjas, you will definitely feel proud, and will naturally work harder. I have been outside Konoha village. In the depths of the forest, Muyun saw that. A familiar man. Long time no see, Muyunjin. Uchiha Itachi stood 3 meters away from Muyun and said with a smile. Muyun frowned at Uchiha Itachi and said, "Itachi, why are you here? Aren't you afraid that I will leave you here forever?" Don't get me wrong, Muyunjin, I came to you this time because I have figured it out. Ever since you said that to me last time, I've been thinking about whether what I did is right or not. It wasn't until Sasuke defected from Konoha that I suddenly realized that maybe I really did something wrong. Protecting Konoha may not need this method, and Muyunjin is right, even if I inquire about the information of the Shao organization, Konoha can't stop the Shao organization's actions. Uchiha Itachi smiled and looked at Muyun, and slowly said righteousness. Chapter 173. Are you serious? Of course, that was the old Konoha, but the current Konoha is different. With the existence of Muyunjin, I believe that even if Shao organizes a full attack on Konoha, he will not be able to defeat Muyunjin. Uchiha Itachi is also very amazed at the strength of Muyun. Although he has not seen the battle between Muyun and Ji, he has heard about it in the end. If it is someone else, he may not believe it. But Uchiha Itachi is different. He is very clear that all the information about Muyun, not only must be believed, but also improved to a new level. After all, Muyun's strength is not. It can be understood casually. You must know the Susa of the Uchiha family. Nengu is called the power of God, and many people can't even understand it, let alone Muyun's power. Of course, this does not mean that Susan Nengu is not. 157. Amazing, but Muyun's feeling for Uchiha Itachi is too unfathomable, so Uchiha Itachi can't underestimate Muyun at all. So what are you trying to say? Muyun is a little curious. Since Uchiha Itachi has already figured it out, why are you looking for him? After he figured it out, shouldn't Uchiha Itachi go to Sasuke and tell him the truth? You know Sasuke, but being treated as a container by Orochimaru, after so long, according to Orochimaru's plan, it should be done in the near future. It is impossible for Uchiha Itachi to not worry. Itachi smiled and said, I don't want to be in the dark anymore. Continue to protect Konoha. If it is the previous Konoha, it is indeed very dark. I can only choose this way to protect Konoha, because I can't accept staying in a village with Danzo. But it's different now. Danzang is dead, and Konoha has ushered in its most glorious period, so I want to return to Konoha and become Muyunjin's right-hand man. This is Uchiha Itachi's decision after careful consideration, so his voice is very firm. In the past, the reason why he chose to destroy his own clan with his own hands and was willing to carry the identity of betrayal and ninja to go to Shout organize undercover, part of the reason is because he really looks like a guardian Konoha. But the most important reason is because Danzang killed Shishui, although Zishui committed suicide by throwing himself into the river. In Uchiha Itachi's eyes, it was no different from being killed by Danzo. Therefore, as soon as he saw Danzo, Uchiha Itachi could not restrain the killing intent in his heart, so he left Konoha village. Now Danzo is dead, and Sasuke's defection has completely made him make up his mind to return to Konoha, use his remaining strength to protect Konoha, and fulfill his last wish to stop the water. Yun was taken aback by Uchiha Itachi's words, and asked in surprise, "Itachi, are you serious?" It is really hard to imagine that his own words actually made Uchiha Itachi have such a big change. This is simply a change of person. Yun even wondered if his words had played the role of other gods in disguise, otherwise he would have been firm. To make such a decision, Itachi Uchiha must know that once he returns to Konoha, all previous plans of Itachi Uchiha will be in vain, and even wanting to give his eyes to Sasuke becomes difficult. Of course, Muyunjin, I am not joking, but even if I return to Konoha, I will only serve under the command of Muyunjin, and I also hope that Muyunjin does not want to be an identity. Uchiha Itachi. The smile on his face did not change at all, but his subordinates, Muyun, did things, which was also his bottom line. The current Hokage is Tsunade. Although Uchiha Itachi has no hatred for Tsunade, he doesn't want to be directed by Tsunade. The Thousand Hands and the Uchiha clan are feuds after all, even Uchiha Itachi is not immune to this. Okay, you are welcome to join, Itachi. Muyun frowned at first, but quickly eased away. Uchiha Itachi is a shadow-level powerhouse no matter what. This is 100,000 reinforcement points delivered to the door. There is no reason to push it out, and it is absolutely true that Uchiha Itachi wants to protect Konoha. As for what purpose, Muyun doesn't care at all. With Muyun's strength, he will no longer be afraid of Uchiha Itachi's calculations. After all, in the face of absolute strength, all conspiracies and tricks are powerless. Made a mask with mud and threw it at after seeing Uchiha Itachi, Muyun said, "Let's go, come back to Konoha with me." Uchiha Itachi put the mask on his face, nodded and said, "Okay." Back in the village, Muyun's heart was full of joy, and he muttered, "Today is really a good day. I picked up 200,000 reinforcement points for nothing, it's really comfortable." At the same time, Akatsuki organizes base 0 inches. Has Uchiha Itachi not come back yet? Tiandao Pain glanced at the ninjas standing on the fingertips of the outsider golem, and asked in a deep voice. Every member of the Akatsuki organization, the rebels and ninjas, felt a heavy pressure when Pain's eyes swept over their bodies, and no one spoke. They all know that the usual Pain is nothing, and jokes can be made casually, but once Pain becomes serious, he is really angry. An angry Pain is very scary, and they all have a deep understanding of this. In the end, Xiaonan stood up and said, "Uchiha Itachi has disappeared for 3 days. We have tried various methods, but we have not been able to contact each other. There are only 2 possibilities for this situation. Either, Uchiha Itachi has been killed or Uchiha Itachi has betrayed the organization." Hearing this, everyone pouted, although Xiaonan mentioned 2 possibilities, but the first possibility can basically be ruled out. In the entire Akatsuki organization, Uchiha Itachi's strength can be ranked first, and whoever can kill Uchiha Itachi is 5/7. The enemy really has this kind of strength, but Uchiha Itachi doesn't even have a chance to ask for help, right? In this way, Uchiha Itachi is really betrayed. You know, our organization has always treated traitors. Kill it. Who of you is willing to take action? Go after Uchiha Itachi. Pain's icy voice sounded, the temperature of the entire space seemed to drop a lot, and everyone's face was cold. Uchiha Itachi's strength is not weak, they don't want to take this drudgery, maybe go after Uchiha when Itachi is a weasel, maybe they will catch up with themselves. Although they are a group of desperados who are not afraid of death, it does not mean that they are willing to die. Sapane's voice fell for a long time, and no one spoke. The underlined version of the novel. Chapter 174 Akatsuki organizes action. All go. Until Pain was about to get angry, the dried persimmon ghost said. As Itachi's partner, he has great respect for Itachi, so he never thought that Itachi would betray him. After hearing the news, he was the most shocked. The ghost shark wants to find Uchiha Itachi, and then personally ask him why betrayal of the organization. He needs to figure it out. Okay, I will leave this matter to the ghost. Pain nodded, he had already seen it. No one else wanted to shoot, only the ghost shark stood up. Perhaps the ghost shark has other purposes, but now Pain can't take care of that much anymore. He can't force others to do this. Under force, no one can resist with his strength, but this method will only make the cohesion of Xiao's organization decline rapidly, and the gains outweigh the losses. By the way, the task of arresting Renzuli can also begin. Let's start with the one-tailed Renzuli. Scorpion, Deidara, I'll leave it to you to capture Ichitari. This matter must be successful, understand? Samsara's eyes glowing with deep purple light stared at Scorpion and Deidara. Pain said in a deep voice. Scorpion and Deidara froze, and said, don't worry, we will handle this matter. Pain nodded and said, the most important thing now is to capture Renzuli, but the four-tailed Renzuli has disappeared without a trace since he appeared in Union Village. According to the information obtained, Konoha was also present when the four-tailed Manzuli last appeared in Union Village. Maybe this matter has something to do with Konoha. For Pain, if it is someone else, it is nothing to worry about, but Muyun is different. To be honest, even Nagato himself is not sure that he can beat Muyun. Muyun's strength is it's too terrifying. Feijuan said, what Konoha Thunder God? In front of my immortal body, Feijuan, no matter how strong he is, he can't do anything. Lord Heretic God's power is not what he can imagine. The corner standing beside Feijuan, all covered their foreheads and said, shut up, Feijuan. Zhao, all of them are really convinced by their partner, and they don't speak through the brain at all. They think that if they have an immortal body, they can be mad. Don't say it's Konoha, even if it's his Zhao. There are quite a few the way to deal with Feijuan's immortality. Okay, let's catch the one-tailed Manzuli first. The four-tailed Manzuli and the nine-tailed Manzuli will wait until the end and I will shoot myself. Pain glanced at Feijuan lightly, and made a final decision. In the evening, Muyun brought Matekai and Uchiha Itachi to the dark. Muyun, who is he? Walking on the road, Matekai looked at Uchiha Itachi with a mask on his face and asked curiously. Kai, he is also my latest recruit into the dark, and he is a very powerful ninja. Looking at the curious Matekai, Muyun said. Mention that Uchiha Itachi is wearing a mask now, even if he is not wearing a mask, Matekai may not be able to recognize it. Hello, Matekai Junin, you can call me Itachi. A hand, Uchiha Itachi said to Matekai. Matekai reached out and shook hands with Uchiha Itachi, suspiciously. Confused, he said, is it a ferret? Muyun interrupted Matekai's words with a wave and said, Kai, don't think too much, this is just a code name, don't forget, that man has already left Konoha. Matkei nodded thoughtfully, but said nothing. After arranging Matekai and Uchiha Itachi, Muyun left the Anbu base. The next morning, Muyun looked at Yumi Koizumi lying beside him, gently kissed the other party's forehead, and got dressed and got up. Lord Muyun, the latest news is that just last night, Sand Ninja Village was attacked by a mysterious organization, and the other party captured Wudai Fengying. Now the SOS message from Sand Ninja Village has reached Konoha. Muyun stood in the courtyard. An Anbu ninja instantly appeared in front of Muyun, knelt down on one knee and said. Muyun's expression instantly became serious, and he said, I see, you go down first. Seeing the disappearance of the Anbu ninja, Muyun fell into contemplation. Now that the Shao organization has begun to act, it means that the final battle is not far away. A sense of urgency rose in Muyun's heart. It must be done as soon as possible. The strength has been raised to the 6th level, otherwise, in the future war, it will be difficult to deal with Kagaya Otsutsuki. When he came to Hokage's office, Muyun really found that most of the Shengnin of Konoha village gathered here. Tsunade, you've heard about it, Gaara was arrested. Muyun glanced at Joinin who was present, and asked Tsunade in a deep voice. Nodding his head, Tsunade said solemnly, the other party's ability to capture the 5th cage shows that his strength is not weak. We have discussed it, no matter who is sent to rescue, it is somewhat inappropriate. Although Gaara is the youngest of the 5 shadows, her strength is also a shadow-level powerhouse. Being able to capture Gaara alive makes Tsunade feel that things are very difficult. Muyun waved his hand and said, don't think about 157 so much. More, I will personally take action on this matter, and this time the only opponent I can deal with. Tsunade was stunned at first, she had never seen such a positive side of Muyun, but thinking of the relationship between Gaara and Muyun, Tsunade was relieved. Okay, I'll leave this matter to you. The rescue letter from Sand Ninja Village has been sent. I'll be relieved if you go out. By the way, do you need me to send someone to cooperate with your actions? Muyun shook his head and said, no need, sending someone to go with me will only confine my hands and feet, I will bring someone myself. For this time to go to the rescue, Muyun already has a candidate in his heart, that is Uchiha Itachi. Now Itachi hides his identity and joins Anbu, but most of the ninjas in Anbu are very suspicious of Uchiha Itachi's strength. So this time it is a good way to express, and Muyun is not afraid that Uchiha Itachi will reveal his identity once he makes a move. After all, Muyun never thought about hiding his identity or anything, all this is just Uchiha Itachi's own practice. Hearing Muyun's words, although the ninjas present felt a little uncomfortable, they had to admit that what Muyun said was very reasonable. With their strength, it is indeed inappropriate to follow Muyun. Chapter 175 The battle begins. Muyun and Uchiha Itachi drove for 3 full days before entering the country of the wind. At the foot of a mountain, Muyun and Uchiha Itachi met Temari and others. Muyun, are you here to rescue this time? He saw Muyun, Temari's face was filled with joy, and he looked very happy. Scorpion and Deidara are really too strong, Temari is not their opponent at all, and even Chio's full strength is helpless. But now that Muyun is here, nothing is a problem. That's right, why are you here? Looking at Temari, Muyun asked with some doubts. Temari replied, it's like this, when we tracked the 2 ninjas, we came here, and their traces disappeared at the same time, we suspect that the 2 ninjas are hiding on this mountain. But because of strength issues, we haven't started the search yet. Temari's words were a bit bitter, seeing her brother being arrested, and still in her own village, but she was helpless, you can imagine what kind of torment this is. Muyun nodded and said softly, don't worry, I will rescue Gaara, don't worry too much. Muyun could see Temari's worry, so he comforted him. Temari nodded and said, I believe you can do it. Muyun turned on the domineering arrogance, directly shrouded the entire mountain top, and instantly discovered Gaara's location. In this cave, the magic dragon 9 seals have already begun, this is really bad. Itachi, come with me. Said hello to Temari, and Muyun rushed to the cave with Uchiha Itachi in an instant. Under the domineering sense of Muyun's knowledge, the magic dragon 9 seals have already begun, and a guard crane in Gaara's body is on the way. Being pulled away, if it's too late, maybe Gaara will be finished. Boom! One punch smashed the boulder blocking the entrance of the cave. Muyun and Uchiha Itachi rushed directly into the cave, letting the scorpion and Deidara, who are in the process of extracting the tailed beast from the magic dragon and 9 seals, have a change in their faces. Who? Deidara got up first and looked at the entrance of the cave. The moment she saw Muyun, Deidara's pupils shrank. It's actually you, Konoha Thor. Deidara cried out in surprise. To be honest, Deidara is very flustered now. If there are a few ninjas he is most unwilling to face, Muyun is definitely at the top of the list. Even in the entire ninja world, the owner I don't want to fight with Muyun. Scorpion glanced at Muyun through the puppet, and said, Muma is indeed a tricky character. But it's a pity, you're late, this guy is already dead, and the tailed beast has been pulled away. Don't say that you are the god of Woodleaf Thunder, even if the immortal of the Six Paths is reincarnated, you will not be able to do anything. Hearing Scorpion's words, Muyun's face sank, he felt the breath on Gaara's body, and instantly found that as Scorpion said, Gaara had lost all his life energy in an instant. Muyun's face became, it's ugly, I didn't even think about it and went out in person, but I still couldn't save Gaara's life and let the plot in the original work repeat itself. Some angry Muyun said directly, Itachi, let's take action, these two guys will. Over to you. Hearing Muyun's words, Deidara's face changed, looking at the mask on Uchiha Itachi's face, and said, hey, just kidding, you shouldn't be that guy, right? Seeing Uchiha Itachi who didn't answer his own question, Deidara suddenly became firmer about the guess in his heart. It's really troublesome, one by one, they are all difficult guys, I didn't expect this task to lead to such a horrible guy. The always calm Scorpion also frowned this time, whether it was Muyun or the guy suspected of Uchiha Itachi, he felt a sense of threat from the other party. This kind of feeling has not appeared in Scorpion's heart for a long time, maybe this time is really bad luck. Uchiha Itachi did not talk nonsense, his hands completed the seal in an instant, and dozens of small fireballs directly shrouded Scorpion and Deidara. The cave is too narrow and restricts our movements, so we have to find a way to expand the combat area. Saying that, Deidara put a handful of clay into the mouth of his palm and spat out a few clay spiders. Several clay spiders suddenly climbed up the surrounding rock walls. Boom! As Deidara's voice fell, the bodies of several clay spiders swelled up in an instant, and then a violent explosion occurred, and the entire cave collapsed directly under this terrifying explosion. Damn Deidara, you want to blow up me? Scorpion's angry voice came. If he hadn't moved fast and used a puppet to protect him in front of him, he would have been killed by this explosion. Art is explosion, I want to destroy you, Deidara didn't care about Scorpion's angry roar, but looked at Muyun and said. I saw Muyun standing 10 meters away, with no expression on his face, while Uchiha Itachi was holding Gaara's body in his hands, and the pupils behind the mask reflected a cold light. The art of fire escape. A huge fireball with a scale of more than 10 meters spewed out directly from Uchiha Itachi's mouth, and smashed fiercely at the Scorpion standing on the ruins of the cave. A shield of sand and iron. A puppet rushed out of the ruins in an instant, with both hands on the ground, a black sand-iron shield directly blocked in front of the Scorpion. The huge fireball caused Li Jiao to directly hit the sand-iron shield, instantly throwing the iron sand shield burned red, but it still failed to break the defense order. 3 generations of Kage know, this is a puppet. Uchiha Itachi looked at the blue-haired puppet standing beside Scorpion, and said solemnly. Although he has been undercover in Akatsuki for a while, Uchiha Itachi still has limited understanding of each member of Akatsuki. After all, as a group of high-level rebels, it has become their instinct to hide themselves. Even in the face of their partner, it is impossible to reveal all their cards. Obviously, the puppet of this 3-generation Fengying is hidden by the Scorpion. Power, maybe more than that. Uchiha Itachi's eyes fell on Deidara again. Scorpion has its own hidden power, and Deidara must have it, but I don't know what it is. In a word, this battle is not so it's so good. Chapter 176 The artistic duo blooms. It rains when iron sand. Large pieces of black sand iron condensed into the shape of flying pieces in the air, and flew towards Uchiha Itachi. Escape the earth and flow the wall. The movement quickly created 4 walls of earth, which could be considered as blocking the attack of Shiyu of sand iron, and Uchiha Itachi's face has long since become extremely serious. Boom! At this moment, A dozen clay spiders did not know when they had arrived at the feet of Uchiha Itachi. After Deidara's voice fell, they exploded. The dazzling fire suddenly rose up, directly piercing Uchiha Itachi's body. After swallowing it, the ground was also blasted out with a huge crater of dozens of meters. Art as explosion, E.H. Deidara excitedly looked at Uchiha Itachi, who was swallowed up by the explosion. He was directly affected by the explosion of his own detonating clay, and no one could be safe. Deidara, can't you start lightly? Well done. Scorpion's tone was full of complaints. He finally took out the puppet made by the 3 generations of Fengyiang. Who would have known that such an anticlimactic end would be over? Obviously, even Scorpion would think that under the 157th of an explosion of this magnitude, Uchiha Itachi is absolutely dead. You are too underestimated by Itachi. If this little trick can kill Itachi, how can he be worthy of my attention? Muyun shook his head. Scorpion and Deidara were a little underestimated. Deidara's move is indeed very strong. If it is an ordinary shadow-level powerhouse, it will definitely be a death end to face. But now they are facing but Uchiha Itachi. How can you solve Susanoo so easily? Sure enough, with Uchiha Itachi's calm voice, the huge fiery red Susanoo directly tore apart the sky of fire and appeared directly in front of Scorpion and Deidara. What is this? Deidara was originally excited, but the moment he saw Susanoo, all the excitement was instantly extinguished, and there was only shock left in his eyes. The Scorpion on the side was also silent, obviously shocked. Quote, "Oh, go straight to the mature state." It seems that in Itachi's heart, Scorpion and Deidara are also very strong opponents. However, can your eyes take it? Seeing the mature Susanoo who was tens of meters tall in an instant, Muyun's brows suddenly raised. You must know that the current Uchiha Itachi's physical condition is no longer good. Although Uchiha Itachi is always trying his best to control the use of the kaleidoscope, his body still collapses. Muyun is very clear that maintaining a mature body Susanoo as Uchibo Itachi is at his limit, and it is even possible that his kaleidoscope Sharingan can't support him in many battles. Standing at the foot of the mountain, Tamari looked at dozens of fiery red energy giants, although he was a little surprised, but seeing she won't be shocked after seeing Muyun's battle scene. And Kankuro just widened his eyes and murmured, "What exactly is this?" Chiyo narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "If I'm not mistaken, this should be Susanoo, Uchiha of a family is called the Power of God. There have been rumors in the ninja world that Susanoo is the power to cut through everything, and if you see it once, you will inevitably die." After all these years, Chiyo knew far more than a kid like Kankuro, and in an instant, he could see the origin of Susanoo. Is it really that scary? It's unbelievable. Kankuro's voice was trembling, and for some reason, looking at Susanoo, he could always feel an overwhelming sense of oppression. Logically speaking, his current strength is no longer weak, he has reached the level of Shangnan, and there are very few things that can make Kankuro fear. But the fact is that, looking at the fiery red Susanoo, Kankuro can't even lift a trace of courage. Chiyo looked at Kankuro's appearance, frowned, but didn't say anything. It was the first time he saw Susanoo. This attitude is quite normal. On the contrary, it is the performance of Tamari, which makes Chiyo admirable. In the face of Susanoo, he can maintain his composure. Even Chiyo sighs at himself. Whereas Chiyo, you know, Tamari is not good at concentration, but is already used to it. Just imagine, a person who has seen hundreds of millions will be excited because he has seen tens of millions. Certainly not. Today's Tamari is in this state. Really horrible attack, Deidara. At this moment, the mask on Uchiha Itachi's face was also broken, revealing Uchiha Itachi's somewhat amazed face. Even Uchiha Itachi has to admit that Deidara's fighting instinct is really terrifying, and it is really amazing to be able to unknowingly arrange explosive clay when he is fighting against Scorpio. It's just a pity that, in front of his own Susanoo, all attacks are powerless. So far, the Susanoo who can resist himself is even better. Uchiha Itachi has only seen one person, and that is Muyun. Sure enough, it's you. Itachi Uchiha, I didn't expect you to join Konoha Raigen's command, it's really surprising news. Scorpion said in his mouth, but he used the ring of Shao's organization to pass the message out. Uchiha Itachi saw Scorpion's small movements, but he just frowned and didn't stop him. Although he was not a member of the Akatsuki organization from beginning to end, in Pain's eyes, it was already a betrayal. So sooner or later, he would have to organize with Akatsuki. Yes, there is not much difference between now and in the future. Sand and Iron Rain. There is no unnecessary nonsense. The Scorpion shot directly and controlled the puppet made by the 3 generations of Fungying to launch an attack again. This time, the amount of sand and iron directly increased several times, and the flying stone-shaped sand and iron bullets also fully condensed. Thousands of pieces, covering the entire sky. Dragon. Deidara also quickly formed a seal, and a huge clay-flying dragon formed in the air, with a huge mouth, aiming at Susanoo on the ground, and the bombs formed by detonating clay poured down directly. Boom, boom, a huge explosion sounded, and the huge Susanoo was directly overwhelmed by the sand and iron bullets and the continuous explosions, and completely disappeared in the firelight. Phyllu reminds you. 3 things to read, recommended. Chapter 177. The battle is heating up. Looking at Uchiha Itachi being swallowed up by the fire, Muyun didn't have the slightest worry in his heart. As for Susanoo's defensive power, Muyun is very clear. The joint attack of Scorpion and Deidara is completely unable to shake the mature body of Susanoo. Sure enough, the next moment, the huge fire-red palm left and right, open up and tear the dazzling firelight directly, and the intact Susanoo suddenly reappears. It's a perfect match. No wonder Pain made the 2 of you partner, this is really a wise choice. Uchiha Itachi felt the sour feeling in his eyes, and he was a little impressed by this move. To withstand this blow head-on, he consumed a lot of pupil power. How can it be able to defend against such an attack? Scorpio and Deidara changed their colors, and they were deeply surprised by the power of Susanoo. But Uchiha Itachi did not give the 2 a chance to react. The huge Susanoo held his right hand tightly. Fist, smashed directly at the Scorpion. Hundreds of puppet techniques. Facing Susanoo's unavoidable punch that almost locked him, Scorpion took out a huge scroll from behind him, pulled it apart instantly, and spread it out on the ground. The smoke floated up, and 100 puppets appeared directly in front of the Scorpion, blocking the attack of the punch. Kalala. But Susanoo's punch directly destroyed 100 puppets. 1 of 7. 8. Looking around, at least more than 70 puppets were directly blown up by this punch, and a large number of parts were scattered. Scorpion's face suddenly became ugly. These puppets cost him a lot. He only managed to get the kung fu together, and with just such a punch, he destroyed more than half of his hard-earned accumulation. How could Scorpion not be angry? Distraction during battle is a taboo. Uchiha Itachi would not wait for the Scorpion to calm down before making a move. Susanoo slammed the Scorpion again with a punch. The power of this punch was even more terrifying than before. The Scorpion suddenly woke up and looked at the Scorpion. The huge fist of Susanoo was already close at hand, and there was a buzzing sound in his mind, and it was too late to defend. At this moment, the huge clay-flying dragon swooped down, and instantly wrapped around Susanoo's body, and Deidara came to Scorpion's side. Dare to be distracted when fighting, Scorpion, you are no longer a child, can you be more cautious? Instantly pulling the Scorpion away and retreating, Deidara preached angrily. Scorpion, who knew that he was wrong, rarely did not open his mouth to refute Deidara's words, so Deidara snorted and rolled his eyes. Boom. After retreating for a full kilometer, Deidara took a big drink. The body of the clay-flying dragon suddenly swelled up, and then exploded directly. Blazing white light rose up, followed by a rush of fire. A mushroom cloud slowly floated into the air. Affected by the explosion, the ground was directly cracked and shattered, setting off countless huge stones, which were then crushed in midair by the shock wave. For a time, the area within a radius of 1,000 meters was directly shrouded in dust. Root, clear any situation. Art is a blast, ha ha ha. Looking at his masterpiece, Deidara laughed with satisfaction. The voice revealed endless arrogance. Deidara, you are really ruthless. Under this move, it is estimated that the energy giant can't resist it. Scorpion watched the terrifying explosion still. It continued, and couldn't help but smack his tongue in his heart. About it, if you are hit by this move, you will probably die without a burial. For a while, the eyes of Scorpion looking at Deidara have changed. Muyun's eyes also caused a trace of waves, using after seeing the domineering feeling for a moment, he smiled again. It's really unreasonable, 3 divine artifacts. Even Muyun was a little worried when he saw Susanoo being swallowed up by the terrifying explosion. After all, Uchiha Itachi's physical condition is no longer optimistic, and there is not much left for Sharingan's power. If it is replaced by Uchiha Madara, Muyun will never be worried. After all, how powerful Susanoo is, it has a lot to do with the caster. But I have to admit that Uchiha Itachi is really he was a genius, and his Susanoo was in control of such a common thing as the 3 divine artifacts, so he easily withstood this attack. After a few minutes, the aftermath of the explosion slowly dissipated. The dust dissipated, and the huge Susanoo appeared directly in the eyes of Scorpio and Deidara. Itachi's Susanoo held an 8-foot mirror and blocked it in front of him. Different degrees of damage, but the place protected by the 8-foot mirror was unscathed. How could it be possible to block my attack? Deidara's expression changed suddenly. This move is already considered his ultimate level. If even this move is ineffective, then his other moves will definitely be difficult to achieve. As expected of Itachi, what is this energy giant? How could something have such terrifying defensive and offensive powers? It's an absolutely perfect technique. Scorpio knew from the beginning that Uchiha Itachi's strength was very strong, but he never thought it would be so strong. As far as Deidara's attack just now, let alone him, in the entire Akatsuki organization, except for Pain in addition, it is estimated that whoever will bear it head-on will be a mortal situation. Whether it is Kaku, Du, or Haiden, who is known to be immortal, he will definitely not be able to withstand this kind of attack. But Uchiha Itachi took it easy. Such a terrifying explosion, I didn't even evade it. I have always thought that I have overestimated Uchiha Itachi's strength, but now it seems that he is still far underestimated. I'm afraid that in the entire Akatsuki organization, except for Pain, Uchiha Itachi is the strongest. Until this moment that Scorpio suddenly realized that the strength of Uchiha Itachi that they had learned before was probably just the tip of the iceberg. Although they both have their own hidden things, it is clear that Uchiha Itachi hides deeper and deeper. Terrible. After a brief shock, Deidara came back to his senses and said to Scorpion, "You were right, although I don't want to admit it, but Scorpion, it is estimated that this time, we are really going to die here." Righteousness, __. Chapter 178 The End of the Art. Deidara's words are not, in alarmist terms, judging from the strength that Uchiha Itachi has shown so far, the two of them are really not rivals. Scorpion was silent for a while, and said, "Deidara, prepare to fight to the death, this man is not an ordinary enemy." Sand and iron attack. A large amount of sand and iron suddenly gathered in the air, forming a cone of tens of meters in size, and it slammed into Susanoo. Go! Itachi Uchiha's face was solemn, and the 10-fist sword instantly appeared in Susanoo's hand. The huge Susanoo raised the 8-foot mirror with his left hand and met the giant iron cone, while the 10-fist sword was facing the Scorpion chopped down fiercely. Rumbling, the huge iron cone directly hit 157. On the 8-foot mirror, ripples swayed, and the huge shock wave spread to the surrounding, destroying everything. There was a mess within a radius of 1 kilometer, and it looked very shocking. And Susanoo, the 10-fist sword in his hand, slashed directly at the body of the Scorpion, directly splitting the opponent in half, and the blood spurted out instantly. Scorpion. Deidara's eyes were red, watching the Scorpion being killed. Huge anger poured directly into his heart. Garuru. The angry Deidara directly opened the ultimate move, but Uchiha Itachi was faster than him, and his body bounced directly from Susanoo, and came directly to Deidara. Yuayu. The kaleidoscope Sharon stared at Deidara's eyes, and Uchiha Itachi instantly launched the moon reading. In an instant, Deidara's consciousness was directly pulled into the moon reading space, and the chakra surging frantically in Deidara's body instantly subsided. Here is, where? Deidara looked at the monthly reading space with some caution, and asked with some anxiety. Uchiha Itachi's body gradually appeared in Deidara's sight. Deidara, this is my illusion space, called Yudu space. Everything in this space is under my control, including time and space, enjoy it. Saying that, a short knife appeared in Uchiha Itachi's hand, and stabbed it directly in Deidara's chest. For a moment, Deidara felt that his consciousness was plunged into darkness, but the next moment, all perceptions immediately disappeared, his body reappeared in 10. In reality, only 3 seconds have passed, and Deidara fell to the ground, his spirits collapsed. I am sorry, Deidara, the position is no, that's the only way to do it. A handful of kunai appeared in Uchiha Itachi's hand and plunged directly into Deidara's chest. This time, it was not Yudu space, but in reality. A touch of blood slowly flowed from the corner of Deidara's mouth, and Uchi struggled with difficulty. Bo Itachi, and then the corpse fell heavily to the ground. Muyun watched the whole process of Uchiha Itachi's battle, and murmured, as expected of Uchiha Itachi, if it wasn't for his body being overwhelmed, it would probably have exploded. Show more terrifying power. At this moment, Kankuro and the others who were standing at the foot of the mountain were stunned by shock, and only Temari was more indifferent. Susanoo is worthy of being called the power of gods, and it can survive an explosion of that magnitude intact. The Uchiha clan. Really scary. Chiyo's eyes remained deeply astonished, and Susanoo's power surprised her greatly. The power of the explosion created by Deidara far surpassed that of ninjutsu, but Susanoo still endured it. The most important thing is that Susanoo is not only amazing in defense, but also incomparably terrifying in attack. It is a move that is close to perfection. Itachi, take Gaara's body, let's go down. Muyun said to Uchiha Itachi, and walked down the foot of the mountain first. Uchiha Itachi touched the cheek that had lost the mask, and murmured, it's really troublesome, is your identity still exposed? Carrying Gaara's body on his shoulders, Uchiha Itachi followed Muyun to the foot of the mountain. What happened to Gaara? Temari was very happy to see Muyun back, but after seeing Gaara who was carried by Uchiha Itachi on his shoulders, Temari's face changed suddenly, and he asked with a trembling voice. Muyun was silent for a while, and said, sorry Temari, I am late, Gaara is already. Although the following words were not spoken, the meaning was already obvious. Temaru immediately stretched out his hand to cover his lips, and tears rolled down like broken pearls. Muyun embraced Temari in his arms and gently patted Temaru's back. Muyun knows that Chiyo will sacrifice her life to bring Gaara back to life, but Temari doesn't know. Therefore, Temari's sadness at this moment is completely from the heart. Gaara. Kankuro was half kneeling in front of Gaara's body, silently weeping, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings for a while. Although Gaara did not accept them at first, and even held deep hostility towards them, neither Temari nor Kankuro ever blamed Gaara. Because they understood Gaara's approach and experience that this kind of thing, Gaara's cold-blooded ruthlessness is also understandable. Later, after Gaara woke up, the relationship between them became deeper and deeper, but today, Gaara's cold corpse is lying in front of them, how can they suppress the sadness in their hearts? Hey, I didn't expect things to develop at this point. Chiyo looked sad, her eyes flashed with relief, and said, old lady, I have lived most of my life, and what I should have experienced and what I should not have experienced has already been 5. 7 I have experienced it, and I have no regrets. But Sand Ninja Village can't lose Gaara, and it can't be without fungying, so let the old bones of my old lady exude some residual heat. Hearing Chiyo's words, Temari and Kankuro looked at Chiyo with some doubts, not understanding the meaning of Chiyo's words. Temari asked, Elder Chiyo, what do you mean by that? Chiyo smiled and said, I have studied a taboo technique that can resurrect the dead, but since it is taboo, the things that need to be paid are also very heavy, and the price is the life of the caster. Old lady, I have lived enough, but Gaara is still young, and the Sand Ninja Village also needs Gaara's leadership, so I decided to use this technique on Gaara to bring Gaara back to life. Chapter 179, Able to Surpass the Six Paths Immortals. Temari and Konkuro's expressions changed instantly. They heard Chiyo's words clearly, that is, they were willing to sacrifice themselves to save Gaara. Although there was a little bit of reluctance towards Chiyo, it was clear that Gaara had a much higher status in their hearts than Chiyo, so they didn't say anything to persuade them. Chiyo smiled and said, Temari, I hope that after I die, you can develop and expand Sand Ninja Village. The most important thing is not to let the alliance between Sand Ninja Village and Konoha break down. After seeing today's battle, Chiyo's fear of Muyun is even deeper. The ninjas under his command have such strength, not to mention Muyun himself. The ninja world is a place where the weak eat the strong. The boss, there is no leader who is weaker than the ninjas under his command. Therefore, Chiyo will tell you, she knows that it is absolutely unwise to be the enemy of Muyun. Perhaps the relationship between Muyun and Temari is fundamental, you don't need her reminder, but it's always right to be cautious. 3 inches. Don't worry, Elder Chiyo, Sand Ninja Village and Konoha have always been good allies, not to mention that there is still a relationship between Muyun and I engagement. Temari looked at Chiyo seriously and said. Nodding his head, Chiyo came to Gaara's body and knelt on the ground, pressing his hands on Gaara's chest, ninja reincarnation technique. Of Chiyo's chakra and vitality, the green light suddenly radiated from Chiyo's hands, slowly restoring the vitality in Gaara's body. The reincarnation of the self is very powerful, but in fact it is the life force is transmitted to others, so that others can recover their lives. Moreover, reincarnation can only be used on people who have just died, so the restrictions are also very huge, and it can only play a role in certain specific scenarios, such as now. With the passage of time, dense beads of sweat appeared on Chiyo's forehead, and his breathing began to become disordered. Chiyo is old after all, although the vitality in the body is still strong, but I want to make Gaara completely awakening is still a lot worse. After all, at Gaara's age, the vitality required is also very terrifying, far from being able to compare with the old Chiyo. Just when Chiyo was about to fail, Muyun threw a large mass of green energy directly to Gaara's chest, and instantly merged into Gaara's body. In an instant, Chiyo felt that the vitality in Gaara's body suddenly increased sharply, and it had reached enough to wake up. Degree. In an instant, Chiyo looked at Muyun with shocking eyes, and asked tremblingly, that was vitality just now. To be honest, Chiyo was really shocked, and even believed in his own judgment, that is vitality. You must know that everyone's vitality is limited, but Muyun has lost so much vitality, and it seems that there is no loss of vitality. How this can make this kind of thing, has far exceeded Chiyo's cognition. Looking at Chiyo's shocked appearance, Muyun said, yes, that is vitality, the purest vitality. With the enhancement of Muyun's strength, Muyun. The vitality fed back to Muyun is also becoming more and more majestic, and even now, the vitality in Muyun's body is growing all the time. For others, the vitality is extremely precious. In Muyun, it is a cheap item. Take it. Even if the current Muyun lives to a few hundred years old or even 1,000 years old, it is not a problem. In fact, Muyun is also very strange about this point. Chinsho Zujian also has a wooden escape, although the vitality of the other party may not be able to match his own. In comparison, it shouldn't die so early. With the vitality of Chinsho Zujian, it is not a problem to live for more than 200 years. But compared with the immortals of the Six Paths, Muyun is relieved. Even the immortals of the Six Paths cannot living for such a long time, not to mention Muyun. Chinsho Zujian estimates that he can have such a majestic vitality and such a long lifespan, most of which are inseparable from the strengthening of the system. Only this statement can explain it. With Muyun's acknowledgement, Chiyo was silent, and after a few seconds, he said, perhaps, it is not impossible that you will become the most legendary ninja in the ninja world. Even, your future achievements can surpass the legendary Six-Path Immortals. In Chiyo's view, life force is an extremely mysterious force. Muyun can drive life force like an arm, which shows how terrifying Muyun is. At least Chiyo has never seen a person who can control life force so skillfully. Even in Chiyo's deep impression of Chisho Hasuma cannot do it either. Temari, Kankuro and others were shocked by Chiyo's words. This evaluation is not low, it can even be said to be unimaginably high. Who is the immortal of the six paths? However, the founder of ninja sect is a legendary figure of the ancestors of all ninjas. Whether it even exists is unknown. Muyun smiled and said, "It's too flattering for me, I can't bear this evaluation." In fact, in Muyun's heart, it's not that he can't afford this evaluation since 157, but that the six paths immortals are nothing more than that. After all, the vision is different. In Muyun's heart, the heavens and the world, the six paths immortals can only be regarded as a younger brother. Don't say anything else, it's just that the power system of the death god is much higher than that of Hokage. Therefore, Muyun certainly doesn't look down on the level of strength of the six path immortals. In Muyun's view, this system will let him leave sooner or later. Naruto world. After all, with such a powerful system, how could it only allow himself to stay in Naruto world? But when these words fell in Chiyo's ears, they became humble, which immediately made Chiyo's premonition even stronger. Looking at Muyun, Chiyo said slowly, "Having a powerful and unparalleled strength, but still not arrogant or impetuous, your future achievements will definitely surprise everyone." After saying this, the green light on Chiyo's palm suddenly intensified a lot, and then it quickly dimmed, and Chiyo's body fell directly backwards, hitting the ground heavily. He sighed and said, "Between life and death, it's really emotional." Over the years, there have been many ninjas who have died in the hands of Muyun, but this is the first time Muyun has met this kind of person who willingly sacrificed his life to meet death. This is a completely different feeling. Please read the underlined version of the novel. Download Philo novel. Chapter 180. People are not machines after all. How can I say this feeling is like the inheritance of will? Maybe Chinshozujian's so-called will of fire really exists, but Muyun didn't feel it. Elder Chi and I. Temari looked at Chiyo lying on the ground and asked hesitantly. Muyun nodded and said, "You are right, Chiyo is already dead, take her body with you when you leave. After all, it is also for your sand ninja village." In fact, Chiyo didn't need to die at all, nor was she obliged to die, but for the development and future of Sand Ninja Village, she chose to die without hesitation. Although she was an enemy before her death, Muyun also admired Chiyo's approach. "Chiyo is a real ninja," Temari said. "Don't worry, I will bring Elder Chiyo back to Sand Ninja Village for a proper burial." At this moment, Temari and Kankuro's favorability toward Chiyo is directly overwhelmed. After all, the other party died to save Gaara. What's going on here? I'm not dead already. At this moment, Gaara, who had been keeping his eyes tightly closed, opened them directly, looking around with a trace of confusion and puzzlement in his eyes and muttered. Gaara clearly felt the end of her life before, and her consciousness really fell into darkness, but why did she wake up again now? He didn't die for a while. Gaara's heart was full of doubts. "I love Luo." Temari and Kankuro heard Gaara's voice, and instantly came to Gaara's side and helped Gaara up. "Gaara, how are you feeling now?" Seeing Gaara's confused look, Temari asked anxiously. She was really worried about what would happen to Gaara. After all, she was resurrected from the dead. Who knows if there was anything wrong with looking at Temari and Kankuro's concerned eyes. Gaara's lips twitched, and she said softly, "Don't worry. I have nothing to do. By the way, am I dead? Why am I still awake? Did I not die before?" Teju shook his head and said, "You were indeed dead before, but Elder Chiyo saved you at the cost of his life, and of course, Muyun also transmitted a lot of vitality to you." Speaking of which, Temari looked at Muyun affectionately, and being able to do this for his younger brother is enough to show Muyun's feelings for her. But what Temari didn't know was that the life force was still true for Muyun. It's just a small matter, it takes a few breaths to make up for it. Gaara was silent for a while, then suddenly got up and bowed deeply to Chiyo. If it wasn't for Chiyo, he would already be dead. Then, Gaara was right too. Bowing to Mu-yun, although Mu-yun is his brother-in-law, he has no obligation to save him. His thinking is similar to that of Shuju. It is estimated that Mu-yun spent a lot of life in order to save him. Although I love Luo do not understand, but also knowing that vitality is an important thing for a person. In fact, Gaara's idea is right. For others, it is indeed very precious, but Mu-yun is obviously not included in this list. Okay, Gaara, it's already all right. The purpose of the Shao organization is the tailed beast. Now that the tail in Gaara's body has been removed, it should not attract the attention of the Shao organization. Now, we should part here too. We're going back to Konoha, so, goodbye, Tamari. Gently kissing Shumaru's lips, Mu-yun said softly. Tamari nodded and said, okay, we also have to rush back to Sand Ninja Village to stabilize the situation. After everything is stabilized, we will hold the wedding. For Tamari, there is nothing more important than fulfilling the marriage contract with Mu-yun. From the initial rejection to the current initiative, there have been many twists and turns. Watching Tamari and others leave, Mu-yun sighed softly, and said, hey, it really makes people angry. Uchiha Itachi stood beside Mu-yun and said, I thought he would come, but I didn't expect him to come so fast. It seems like a coincidence. The reason why Mu-yun let Tamari and others leave first is because there are guests. With a loud shout, an incomparably huge stream of water rushed out in an instant, forming a huge lake directly on the spot, which is very terrifying. Water escape water dragon ball technique. Immediately afterwards, a dozen huge water dragons jumped up from the lake in an instant, all shrouded in front of Uchiha Itachi, and the offensive was very fast. Susanoo. Uchiha Itachi's face condensed, facing the attack of more than a dozen water dragons. He did not dare to be careless, and directly urged chakra to condense a mature body with flesh and blood meridian Susanoo. Facing a dozen water dragons, the huge Susanoo directly swung his huge fist and slammed it towards the water dragon. Bang! The huge water splashes scattered and overflowed under the attack of Susanoo's fist, and the water flowed from the sky. It fell in the middle, and the water dragons were knocked away one by one for more than 10 days. Ghost Shark, it's a little too polite to give me such a big gift as soon as you come here. Order. Looking at the dried persimmon Ghost Shark standing behind a rock, Itachi Uchiha suddenly laughed. The expression on the dried persimmon Ghost Shark's face was very complicated, and he said, Mr. Itachi, why did you betray the organization? Did you forget your dream when you first joined the organization? For Uchiha Itachi, dried persimmon Ghost Shark has always held considerable respect from Li Jiao, thinking that Itachi and him are the same people to some extent, but what he never imagined was that Uchiha Itachi would actually betray Shao organization. In the mind of the persimmon ghost, anyone can betray, but only Uchiha Itachi is impossible, but the fact is now, making the persimmon ghost very angry. Sorry, Ghost, I have never been Akatsuki. The people of the organization have never been betrayed, and my dream is to protect Konoha. I will not forget, nor can I forget. They always deceived you a lot in order to gain the trust of the Akatsuki organization. I am so sorry, Ghost Shark. There is deep apology in Uchiha Itachi's tone. In Akatsuki's organization, Uchiha Itachi closed all his feelings, but only the dry persimmon ghost who has been with him for a long time has really created a bond. After all, people are not machines.